basements, family rooms and basements all around the world, and they had a line for their sequels. And how about this line from Rocky 2? The one thing I want you to do for me, says Adrian to Rocky, come here, and he says, what? Win. Both these teams will try and do that tonight until the Stanley Cup is handed out.
Welcome to Edmonton for Game 1 of the 2025 Stanley Cup Final, featuring the Florida Panthers and your Edmonton Oilers. Let's meet the teams competing for the Stanley Cup. First, the Florida Panthers. Head coach in his 27th season, Paul Maurice. At forward in his 12th season, number 16, Alexander Barkov. At forward in his 10th season, number 17, Evan Rodriguez. At forward in his 11th season, number 13, Sam Reinhart. On defense in his 12th season, number 3, Seth Jones. On defense in his 6th season, number 77, Niko Nikola. And in goal for the Panthers, playing in his 15th season, number 72, Sergei Bobrovsky. And now, the starting lineup for your Edmonton Oilers. Head coach in his 2nd season, Chris Knoblauch. At forward in his 20th season, number 90, Corey Perry. At forward in his 14th season, number 93, Brian Nugent-Hopkins. On defense in his 14th season, number 14, Matthias Ekholm. At forward in his 10th season, number 97, Connor McDavid. On defense in his 6th season, number 2, Evan Bouchard. And starting in goal for the Oilers, playing in his 5th season, number 74, Stuart Skinner. And now, please join the singing voice of your Edmonton Oilers, Robert Clark, in the performance of the American and Canadian national anthems, signed tonight by Edmonton resident and deaf performer with PXP, Linda Cundy.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars the perilous fight. O'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we seek the true North strong and free.
A year ago, it began and ended in Florida. Tonight from Edmonton, the rematch. Will it be a Panthers repeat or Oilers revenge? There's Sergei Bobrovsky, started last year's Stanley Cup final with a 33-save shutout in the opener. He's won 7 of his last 9. At the other end, Stuart Skinner had a better goals against average and save percentage in the showdown against Bobrovsky last year. He's won 6 of his last 7. The best defensive forward in hockey, Alexander Barkov, lifted the cup a year ago. Will the greatest offensive player of the game, Connor McDavid, get his chance this time round? It was a 7-game classic last year. The sequel could be even better. And Rogers Place has gone next level for this Stanley Cup final. Underway as Matthias Ekholm sends it down into the Florida zone. Corey Perry's got it. That went off Mikkola to the far side, pushed ahead at center. Evan Rodriguez, who led the Stanley Cup final in goals with 4 last year, out there along with Reinhart and Barkov against McDavid with Perry and Nugent Hopkins. It'll be kicked back to the line. Mikkola with the shot, and that changed direction in front. Retrieved there by Rodriguez. Bouchard after it. He lost it, but the Oilers able to move it ahead. It's knocked down by McDavid with a high stick 40 seconds in.
Well, allows everybody to breathe a little bit. The most anticipated rematch. You think of what these teams have gone through. Florida for the 3rd straight year, and you all remember the dressing room scenes with the Edmonton Oilers last year. The heartbreak of Game 7 being so close. Testament to both these teams, Chris, to battle all throughout this season, get here again, and give us the opportunity, which should be just a dandy of a series between, quite frankly, the 2 best teams in the league right now.
Both on top of their games, for the most part, both healthy, with the one exception of Zach Hyman, who will not be available, disclosing a dislocated wrist to the media this morning. Here's Kasperi Kapanen playing it out ahead. Leon Draisaitl on the ice, only 3 assists last year in the Stanley Cup final. He wasn't 100%. He is this time as he goes in after it. Forsling takes him to the end boards. Kapanen crashes in there. Draisaitl trying to feed the point. It'll come back to Wolman. A shot. A rebound in front. Scores! Leon Draisaitl. 66 seconds in. Difference from the Stanley Cup final a year ago.
Well, it took him 8 games, but here's his first, and this is what you didn't see all last Stanley Cup final from Draisaitl. That ability to battle, to get in hard, get in quickly, and this is how you have to deal with Bobrovsky. I think it was Kelly saying about rebounds. Rebound control here early on. Waves at one. Good second chance, and then Draisaitl, after starting the play, hard on the forecheck, finishes it and brings this crowd to a frenzy.
He has scored a goal in game 1 of each in this series as Skinner has to cover up in front of the net. Florida going right back at them, but Draisaitl with the goal at 1:06 is the kickstarter in this final.
You know, the playoffs are all about determination. Well, the Stanley Cup final takes it to another level, and early on, you sensed a little bit of nervousness, both teams, a couple of missed plays, and there's Bobrovsky, something that in game 1, you mentioned, the Oilers outshot them badly last year, lost a 3-0 thanks to the shutout of Bobrovsky. They end that quickly, just a minute and 6 seconds in.
There's Kulikov, the former Oilers, sending it wide of the net. Luostarinen swings it in behind the net to Anton Lundell. Brad Marchand on the ice as they try to return fire. That shot is deflected wide. They try to tuck it in front. And Skinner with a stop. And holds on.
That had a chance there. The rebound. Skinner having to slide. He's had a couple of shots that have gone wide, but hit the back. These are lively boards here in Edmonton. Anton Lundell. You can see Skinner goes to his left. Now has to adjust. The stuff doesn't happen, but Brown just about can't quite get there on the rebound, and he's the one that put it in. Yeah, I thought the rebound chance got there. It was Brown actually trying to stop that, put it back towards Skinner, but Skinner able to hold on.
Face off in the Edmonton zone as Draisaitl works against Nosek. Oilers control the draw. The Oiler goal, Draisaitl from Kapanen and Wolman to open proceedings in the 25 final. Up ahead it goes to the goal scorer, Draisaitl. Got Kapanen on the right side. They send in deep from Andrew Kane out there as well as Nosek starts back. Up ahead to Mikkola. He'll fire it down into the Edmonton zone. And then turn back as Florida starts to change. But on the ice comes Matthias Janmark for the Oilers. The Barkov line out for Florida. A stretch pass off Podkolzin right down to Bobrovsky. Forsling back in his own zone. That pass broken up, and here is Arvidsson. They try to feed it back to the point. It doesn't reach. And out at center, it's Rodriguez against Darnell Nurse. Victor Arvidsson has the puck, playing on a line with Janmark and Podkolzin, and that'll get vacuumed up by Bobrovsky.
You're an elite talent. You can visualize greatness because you're built different. Get a full view of your business all in one place with Intuit QuickBooks.
Well, what you love when you get to a new series is, okay, how's the matchup game going to go? All the talk about Barkov, back-to-back Selke trophies, his third of his career. There's a fourth-line shift for Chris Knoblauch against that line. Well, what does that do? It shakes up the rotation a little bit. Now you've got the Lundell line. You saw at the beginning that you had head-to-head McDavid against Barkov here. Just a little bit of a different look. That'll be continuing as this series moves along and the coaches decide what matchup they're looking for.
Connor McDavid on the ice, 11 points in last year's Stanley Cup final. No points in game 1, 6, or 7. Couple of 4-point games as he collects the puck behind the net. An outlet here, Nugent Hopkins trying to spring Perry. Bounces past him. Mikkola has to go back to retrieve it. Here's Mikkola getting it by McDavid and out to center ice.
Because here early on, you could see the Oilers. They knew what to expect from Florida. Everybody talked about their hard forecheck, defense pinching. They've been stretching out their forwards here early, trying to back them off a little bit, and so far it's worked.
Pass through from Connor Brown, broken up by Kachuk, and played back to the Edmonton line. Brett Kulak across to Darnell Nurse. Deflected down. It's going to be an icing call against Edmonton.
Well, you had one linesman waving it off. This will be an interesting call if they discuss. And yeah, I think you're going to have this at center ice as Scott Cherry had his arm up, but the other linesman, Trent Knorr, was saying no. He was waving it off. The two are having a discussion here. And, you know, Chris, faceoffs are just such an important part of this game, and they create the offense. They give a matchup if you are able to. If it's an icing, you don't get that change if you're the Edmonton Oilers, so you lose the matchup on home ice. Now you're able to make any kind of change you want. And Florida's going to have to change one of their defensemen, or both of their defensemen, because they don't have that last change. They tried to make it after Edmonton put their lineup out.
So at center ice, Florida controls the draw. Putting up the two teams in the Stanley Cup final. We're not outstanding during the first three rounds in the face-off circle, both sub 50%. Kapanen to Draisaitl. Over the line, Keane tried to get back to him, and it's played back out. Brett Kulak has been so stoked on the Edmonton back line, and back alongside Darnell Nurse with the return of Matthias Ekholm. That's broken up by Forsling. Draisaitl will get it back and flip it inside the line. Barkov there. Forsling, and able to clear, and Kapanen with a shot right on. Turned aside by Bobrovsky. Evan Bouchard moves up. Reinhart beats him to the puck. Here's Draisaitl. Huge hit by Kane on Ekblad. Kane and Ekblad jostle. Kapanen in there. And Forsling will take it away. First big hit from Kane, and again, he played sparingly last year in the final. Up off Bouchard, on the move, Janmark, and unable to get past Nate Schmidt, just inside the Florida line. There's Kulikov spinning away, but Colson with a hit. Florida leads the Stanley Cup playoffs in hits, but the Oilers going to work physically in the early going. But Colson knocked down behind the net. Comes around towards Harbinson. Played past him, and Marchand sends it to center. Evan Bouchard back for Edmonton. Over the line. That pass cut. And away goes Sam Bennett. Here's Bennett in. Bennett and his shot stopped by Skinner. Bennett leading the playoffs in goals and hits. And an icing call against Edmonton after a good scoring chance for Sam Bennett.
Well, you mentioned what a difference for Evander Kane last year. Hardly able to play games 1 and 2. There's just what he can bring, an element of physicality. A bad change here off the turnover by Evan Bouchard, but watch McDavid. Comes right back through the middle, make sure he doesn't take a penalty, but he gets that stick in there, so Bennett unable to get the shot that he wanted. Those kind of turnovers at the offensive zone can be deadly. High transition on both these teams, and puck management so important. Almost got caught, but the captain came back with a good stick.
Bennett with 10 goals, 85 hits, and a face-off win. Mikkola sails that high. There's a point shot that hits the traffic in front, played by Ekholm, and that's going to skitter the length of the ice. And another Oiler icing call. If you can't get enough sports, tune into CBC Gem this summer for high-stakes competitive action. Northern Super League, Volleyball Nations League, and Grand Slam track. Don't miss the excitement. Watch free on CBC Gem. So the two old minor hockey teammates, McDavid and Bennett, facing off there in the Edmonton zone. Podkolzin with a bump along the boards against Seth Jones. Verhaeghe can't come up with that puck. There's a big hit by Bennett on Arvidsson. Now flipped away back inside the Florida line. An oil change underway as McDavid gets his wingers back. Nugent Hopkins and Perry, a lead feed. Reinhart tried to kick that towards Bennett. Reinhart had the series winner last year the second Florida goal in Game 7 to give them a 2-1 win. McDavid will wind it up inside the line and slowed down there by Rodriguez. Back the other way, it's Reinhart. He got bumped as he centered around the boards, and here's Klingberg ahead. Shifting gears is McDavid, checked by Forsling. Perry followed up, but it's called at the line.
Well, you got an offside that drew one arm up for the linesman. This drew the arm up for the official, though. An errant stick for Perry. A penalty coming up. Power play, Florida.
100%
to get back to the Stanley Cup final. Both know there's business to do, and it's really been the message from both, hasn't it, Chris? Just the focus, the talk about it's different this time around. For the Edmonton Oilers, it's back-to-back. You know what to expect. Nothing is a surprise. For the Florida Panthers 3 times now, and that muted celebration said everything's focused on this start and this moment, getting back to the Stanley Cup final.
Now the focus on the first power play of the series. Panthers just 1 for 21 last year in the 7 games. In fact, the Oilers outscored them with a couple of short-handed goals. There's a chance it's for Ekblad. It goes wide. But Florida's been lethal in Game 1 this year in the postseason. They're 6 for 9. Barkov to Tkachuk, who brings it in, gets slowed up there by Janmark. Ekblad takes a look and back to Tkachuk from distance. Turned aside and up to the point for Jones. Here's Reinhart looking to get it back to Jones. Ekblad deflects that into the corner. A couple of defensemen out on the top power play unit for Florida. Jones with a goal in Game 1 against the Leafs in the second round as Alexander Barkov turned back by Connor McDavid, who we've seen play a more prominent penalty kill role as this playoff has gone along. Almost picked up a loose puck there, but in comes Reinhart. And McDavid closed.
I like the fact that Chris Knoblauch has started using Connor McDavid more. It keeps him in the game, and you know that element, his speed, his ability to read the play, and he's done a nice job getting involved on the PK.
Connor Brown comes on. Bennett is through, but can't get the shot to the net. Back to Nate Schmidt. And across up top. That shot is blocked by Roman. And cleared. Final half minute of the first power play of Game 1. Up it goes to Bennett. That pass for Marchand doesn't work. The puck comes out. Maybe a 2-on-1. McDavid and Kapanen broken up. McDavid got it back. It's the post. Close call, short-handed for Connor McDavid. Perry getting set to return. There's Bennett checked at center by Draisaitl. And the fans tell you that Corey Perry's back on the ice. Draisaitl gets checked as he crossed the line. One shot on the power play for Florida. Here's Mikkola trying to get it deep, but Draisaitl breaks that up. Mikkola again will step up into the zone. Just for Boquist. Off that flank. Shot didn't get through, and Andrew Kane unable to clear. Knocked the stick out of the hands of the Panthers center, Anton Lundell, as it comes back out to center ice. Dispatched back in by Jones. Around it goes. Jonah Gadjevich after it. Gadjevich crouching in on the forecheck. Up along the boards, and it'll come out to center. Jones for Kulikov and back into the Oilers zone. Approaching 10 minutes of the first period here in Game 1. Adam Henrik played it back to Nurse, out at center. That's too far, out of the reach of Arvidsson. And the Oilers called for icing.
So you want to
Florida
get
at
your
Edmonton,
best
Game 1,
player out
debate,
the ice
5:30
as
p.m.
much as you can, and I like the fact that Chris Knoblauch has done this more readily in the Dallas series especially. Gets back defensively, great read, and this is the element that's the scary one. Does a great job of recovering, and then the quick shot through the screen of Marchand there, right past Bobrovsky, but off the crossbar and just to the outside.
Face-off win for Barkov, and a pad save by Skinner off Sam Reinhart. Away goes Arvidsson trying to get to center. The Oilers looking for a change here. As Reinhardt's pass broken up. Along the boards, it's Boquist and a big hit. Brandon buckles Boquist, who will step off. So the Oilers have certainly matched the physicality of Florida, maybe a little bit more here in the opening 10.5 minutes.
You don't think the Oilers have listened these past 6 days about how physical the Florida Panthers are. You know, that's the thing about having 5-6 days between games.
Here's Verhaeghe unable to get a shot away. Verhaeghe scored the first goal last year at Game 1. A chance here, and scores! Carter Verhaeghe has tied it for Florida.
Well, look at Stuart Skinner, got his arms up, but Bowman tried to get a penalty. He felt that he was interfered with by
Gmail. Now, confirm if it's you recovering your account. Desire Weekly123@gmail.com. Time sensitive.
Him to be Woolman. The officials are having a discussion at center ice right now. But here's the play. Into the arms. He wanted the penalty to happen. Doesn't. Now he falls in. And Stuart Skinner saying, that's goaltender interference.
Google. Now, new sign-in on TELUS -24S. Your Google account was signed into. Not you. Secure your account. Time sensitive. Gmail. Now, Google. Your Google account was recovered successfully. Account recovered successfully. Desire Weekly123@gmail.com. Welcome back to your account. If you suspect you were locked out of your account because of changes made by someone else, you should review him. Gmail. Now, Google. Security alert. A new sign-in on TELUS -24S. Desire Weekly123@gmail.com. We noticed a new sign-in to your Google account on the TELUS -24S device. If this was you, you don't need to do anything. If not, Gmail. Now, Google. Your Google account was recovered successfully. Account recovered successfully. Desire Weekly123@gmail.com. Welcome back to your account. If you suspect you were locked out of your account because of changes made by someone else, you should review him.
Had his arms up in the air like, isn't there a call? And you know Bennett, that's where he is so effective and so efficient. Let's have a look of how he gets in there. No call here on the push. Now he turns around. The skate of Kulak might have got into the skate of Bennett as he goes backwards, but for Stuart Skinner, he's trying to find this puck through all the bodies here, and as he goes down, there's contact and the puck goes through. Chris King is here on site, so nothing goes to Toronto. They're right here in the building, and that did not take long.
After reviewing the play, the actions of the Edmonton defenseman knocking 9 down. Therefore, the call on the ice is confirmed. We have a goal. Edmonton has a delay of game penalty.
So watch the skate of Kulak as the left skate gets on the right skate, and that's what they're saying. That's why Bennett went down. And if I'm a player who's in that role, any kind of a feel you get, you're going to go towards the goaltender. I know Kelly Rudy and I had that scenario about 100 times in front of the net. So Bennett does his job in front, and Verhaeghe again, he just seems to find a way to throw that puck to the net and get some big goals.
We'll see two of the best in the business at that crease crashing, and Sam Bennett for Florida, Corey Perry for Edmonton. Now a power play because of the unsuccessful challenge, and Florida goes back to work with the man advantage after tying the game on Carter Verhaeghe's 7th of the postseason. Markov will lead the men, along with Tkachuk, sending it through, but too far for Tkachuk. Ekholm around. It'll get knocked down by Ekblad. Ekblad tied up and lost the puck. And back out from the Oilers. Matthias Janmark digging in there. He had one of the short-handed goals last year against Florida in the final. Sam Reinhart to work. Pass McDavid. Janmark leads on him, and Bouchard will send it ahead. McDavid loose. Here's Connor McDavid back in, and he'll turn back and play keep away. Darnell Nurse steps up. Here's Nurse into the zone. Flips the backhand, and Bobrovsky drops that down. 50 seconds left in the penalty. Getting served once again by Corey Perry. Bennett fires it in. Ekholm got a stick on that, and Kapanen into the clear. Matthias Ekholm played 15-52 in his return to the Oiler lineup in Game 5 against Dallas. Here comes Bennett. Back in, checked. It'll be kept alive there by Rodriguez. Back to Nate Schmidt across. Scores! Power play goal! Brad Marchand. And suddenly, Florida has the lead.
Well, another guy who wasn't on the back end last year in the Stanley Cup Finals, Nate Schmidt. He makes this play and just sells it beautifully, like he's going to put this towards the net. You know that there's going to be traffic there for Skinner. He's trying to pick up where the puck is. He's got Verhaeghe in front, and look at that seam pass right on the tape of Marchand. He points immediately, makes it look like it's going towards the net. Instead, it's a kickoff. Marchand gives himself, watch how he backs up about a step and a half, and that little area, that step and a half kickback, didn't allow the stick of the defender to get there, and Marchand able to get it up and over a sprawling Stuart Skinner.
Marchand with his fifth, that's his 8th goal in Stanley Cup final action, and a penalty coming up as McDavid was upended. Now the Oilers get a chance on the power play to
Low battery,
return
20%.
fire.
When you look for a quick response, you get your top guys out there again, and it's Connor McDavid, the threat of the speed, jumping pass. You got Draisaitl, McDavid, a little hooking call there. Oiler power play coming up.
Double tap to open up.
Styles, and at the end of it, he added that he's not shooting on Stuart Skinner, but he's trying to build his game and foundation, which I think Craig and Chris would apply to both netminders early in Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final.
Many goals here, Gene, in the first 12 and a half minutes that we had in Game 7. That power play's going to last 5 seconds. A tripping call, and for the 3rd time, Corey Perry's headed off, once serving a delay of game penalty, but that's his 2nd minor of the period.
Well, right off the draw, it gets kicked to the corner, and immediately Perry, you know, as a player, you just get the stick in the wrong place at the wrong time, between the legs, and you can see Reinhart goes down quickly. Perry tried to drop it before he even turned. He knew he was in a vulnerable spot, and that look in the penalty box says it all. A tough start for Perry there, one that he knew. He tried to get the stick out, but couldn't in time.
4-on-4. By the way, they giving Sam Bennett credit for the getting another penalty here. Draisaitl taken down. High stick. He's checking for damage. And the penalty will get called. And just like that, the Oilers will go back on the power play.
You know, as a player, you get this start to a game, and sometimes the officials just can't get out of the way. And here's no question. You could see, you knew that contact was coming, and Corey Perry watching that saying, where's the arm? Well, it took a second to come up, but it made it there. So a 4-on-3 opportunity here for Edmonton, trying to tie this game back. And I know both coaches, you know, you love the players to decide, and we've seen so many games where there haven't been many power plays. Here, it's been a power play riddled first period to start Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final.
A power play of 4-on-3 that doesn't get practiced a whole lot. Edmonton 3 for 23 last year in the Cup Final. A power play goal in each of the 5 games against Dallas. And a face-off win for McDavid, but they're going to drop it again. And maybe there's a little Stanley Cup.
Everyone's got nerves in this game. This has been a strange start in that regard, and you're getting a good chat there in the face-off dog.
McDavid fires that face-off win back to Bouchard. Draisaitl reloads for Bouchard. McDavid up top. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins down at the side of the net looking for a tip. Bobrovsky with the stop and a recovery here for Draisaitl. Watched by Barkov. Seth Jones on the ice with Forsling as it comes back to Bouchard. Takes a look through, and that gets past Nugent-Hopkins at the side of the net. McDavid takes over. Pass is blocked by Forsling. McDavid gets it back. Now to Bouchard. He'll fire it right off. Bouchard back to McDavid. Looking across for Draisaitl. Off Forsling and out of play.
Well, one thing that's so effective with McDavid and his movement, when it's 5-on-4, he always tries to attack lanes. That tries to open up a passing lane. Here he sees that he's got Nugent-Hopkins all in front. Kind of put it to an area that maybe he thought Nugent-Hopkins might be able to stop it and pull it around. Instead, unable to control, and Bobrovsky kicks it to the corner.
There's Draisaitl controlling the draw cleanly. Bouchard not going to take the shot. McDavid turns back against Jones. Trade spots with Bouchard. Holds on and whips it wide of the net. Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins. Multi-point games in the first 4 games. Dallas for Ryan Nugent Hopkins. Here's Draisaitl missing the target. Comes back across for Bouchard. McDavid's on the move. Gets the puck. Back for Bouchard. And now Draisaitl. Crisscrossing with McDavid. Here's Connor McDavid through Draisaitl. Doesn't have a clear shooting lane. McDavid. Bouchard fires and that last chance there for Draisaitl. Good stop by Bobrovsky. Connor McDavid on it again. Gets it back from Bouchard. Back on the ice, Lundell. In front to the pad stop. Off that pass for Nugent Hopkins back door.
That was a brilliant read there by Bobrovsky. Knew exactly where Nugent Hopkins in the threat was, and his right pad, he pushed it out about 1.5 feet to make sure he got that puck instead of a tap in there for Nugent Hopkins.
Here's Klingberg through. Henrique drops in. The shot is blocked in front. Listerina in the shooting lane. And the teams have returned to full strength. It's a pass that deflected off the body out to center, and now Kulikov turns back. Just over 4.5 to go in a frenzied first period. And here's Mikkola. Off the glove to Skinner and Evander Kane trying to set it up. Here comes Podkolzin in. Sends it around to the near side. Klingberg trying to come up with it. It's played past him. And away goes Verhaeghe. Carter Verhaeghe in deep. Around on the near side, Arvidsson. He got bumped there by Bennett. Again, Bennett with credit for the goal. So he has 11 now in the Stanley Cup playoff. Verhaeghe and Tkachuk assisting on the first Florida goal. Marchand from Schmidt. And now a chance here at Bobrovsky with a save. Another chance. And Bobrovsky stopping Arvidsson and holds on with the sticks getting high on the doorstep.
Well, the Oilers got to Bobrovsky early, something they couldn't do in Game 1 on the rebound goal to start this game off, but a couple of chances to tie it up. Janmark with good speed there, great positioning. The rebound there again, a quick turnaround by Arvidsson under the pad. Bobrovsky save.
Marchand already having an impact for his new team, the Florida Panthers, after spending his entire career with the Boston Bruins, a Stanley Cup winner in 2011. He said that it gives you false confidence, believing that you will not only get to a Stanley Cup final, but win another one. And that's why he's so appreciative of the chance he has now with Florida. His teammates saying after years of not liking him, Craig and Chris, it's been easy to like him now that he's on their team.
Has been embraced by his teammates almost from the get-go. Kulak, Trent Frederick can't get it through. It ricocheted in front, it deflected. Off the stick of Henrique in front of the net. Barkov dumps a check. Trying to get it out, but it stays in at the line. Frederick, it's backhanded off the boards and out by Ekblad.
Well, you've had 5 minutes and 41 seconds of power play time, so that line really hasn't had a chance to get together and get any kind of a shift for the Oilers. So always a challenge for the coach. Got to get everybody involved when you're on so much special teams to start a period.
Got past Tkachuk, it's who's in front of chance, and Bobrovsky out with Corey Perry knocking at the door.
Sometimes it pays to be a bad fan. Every game is your game. And you bet with Sports Interaction.
Well, there's one thing about Corey Perry is that puck will follow him around, and he does a great job here, sliding to the front, tried to get the rebound off, and look at Bobrovsky able to get there first. Ekblad kind of got turned around, couldn't quite get a hold of Perry, but he got the initial tip. 7 goals in this Stanley Cup playoffs, and Chris, that's the most for a 39-plus-year-old, and what a season it has been. 19 goals in the regular season. Now you've got no Zach Hyman, so even a more prominent role in the final here for Corey Perry.
Goals in his last 2. Bouchard fires that. Kicked away by Bobrovsky, centered by McDavid. But played to the boards. Listerina to whack at it, but Bouchard got his stick on the puck. Now they'll swarm it and get it back to Bouchard at the line. In deep behind the net is Perry. And McDavid Watched by Mikkola, centers, and Nugent Hopkins didn't get all of it, but Bobrovsky still had to be sharp.
Right, you just see the battles for that territory. It's the most important place, especially when you've got the skill of McDavid behind the net. McDavid just holds his body. Watch how he protects the puck, gets his body in the way so that Mikkola, even with his long reach, can't get a hold of it, and just tried to slide it through the myriad of sticks and legs and allow Nugent Hopkins a chance. Bobrovsky again. Rebound control is going to be critical. You know, a goaltender like Bobrovsky that sees the puck so well, that handles the lower part of the net extremely well. Rebounds are the things that you got to pounce on if you're the Edmonton Oilers. Hunt that puck in front of the net, look for any opportunity, and you've got to go high if you do get that rebound opportunity.
Oilers have tested Bobrovsky 16 times already. Had an early breakthrough on the rebound goal by Draisaitl. A minute and 6 in. Wallman across for Klingberg. And back to Wallman. He'll dump it down off the high stick of Forsling. And so a face-off in the Florida zone. Watch the true story of Princess Delta Dawn, the first Indigenous pro wrestler in Japan. Catch the documentary Delta Dawn for free on CBC Gem, Canada's home for streaming.
Well, Chris, we're almost 18 minutes into game one, and this is all gamesmanship. I mean, this whole shift, Bennett, every time he got a chance, took a little whack at Draisaitl. Draisaitl went back at him. When the whistle went, he got one other shot in, and you can expect that just to continue endlessly as this series rolls along.
Vincent Draisaitl has scored in each game one, with Bennett getting credit. He has scored in each game one. That came up high and caught Wallman, and he's in some difficulty. So Wallman will struggle to the Edmonton bench. Played past Draisaitl, and Draisaitl comes back trying to take it away from Verhaeghe. Dropping his stick, Kulak, and he'll kick it across to Klingberg.
Boy, that would be a big loss there. Wallman turned, it looked like it got him right in the wrist, and he's in all kinds of pain in the Oilers bench. He's been such a good find and a great player throughout this playoffs on the back end.
Kachuk cuts a pass and plays it back, and Aaron Ekblad back in behind the Florida net. Ekblad telling us yesterday how beaten up he was 2 years ago in the Stanley Cup final. Broken foot and shoulder surgery for both shoulders 2 days after the Stanley Cup was done. That puck out and center it back into the Panthers zone. Schmidt across for Nosek. Up ahead off the stick to Boquist. Gadgets goes after it against Nurse. Boquist follows up. Boquist in the lineup. In the absence of A.J. Greer as it's flipped away in the final minute of this first period. Schmidt will send that the length of the ice, and Florida gets called for icing with 48.8 left in the first.
Well, I mentioned the importance of Wallman. Almost 20 minutes a night. Here's the clearing pass that gets cut off, and yeah, he just was trying to avoid that hitting him in his head, and so he lifted his body up, but it looked like it got him right underneath the arm, right in that rib area, and there was no question. Got to the bench, hunched over, looks like he's able to shake it off. We'll hope that he comes back in period two.
Off the draw, Nosek prevails for the Panthers. Boquist checked inside the line by Perry. Here's McDavid and Draisaitl. Oilers loaded up here in the final minute, looking for the equalizer, but Schmidt's away. Nate Schmidt redlining in. Matthias Ekholm with under a half minute to go. Bouchard on the tape for Draisaitl at center. Here comes McDavid, but he made the move at the line that put Draisaitl offside.
Boy, it had Ekholm just trying to beat his man up the ice. He did too. He had Reinhart, it looked like. So Ekholm was disappointed. Thought maybe he could join that rush, make it a 3-on-2. And McDavid, one little move at the line. Here's the battle. Reinhart goes for the hit. Watch the top of your screen behind. Ekholm thought that he was getting held. Now he's in great position there. If that's not offside, a little curl back there by McDavid, and Ekholm's walking by himself right down the slot.
and Mikula work it out to center off the glove of Barkov. Barkov, butt end came up and caught Nugent Hopkins as Barkov fell. Inadvertent, but nearly clipped Nugent Hopkins. Now a shot off the flank at the horn. And one done in game one of the Stanley Cup final. It was a quick start for Edmonton. A goal by Leon Draisaitl, but with our first intermission from Rogers Place.
Close.
The Oilers 50-50 presented by Rogers, now live for the Stanley Cup Final. Early bird prizing including a signed McDavid Four Nations jersey and $10,000 cash, as well as a Ford Bronco. Puck drop to start the second period, and the Florida Panthers pump it into the Edmonton zone immediately. Playing 5-on-5 with a score 2-1 in favor of the Panthers. Verhaeghe and Marchand for Florida. For Edmonton, Leon Draisaitl. Here's Corey Perry in from the right-hand side. Oilers right to left in the home blues for the second period. A backhander in front redirected off Bobrovsky's pads and calmly flipped the other way by Evan Rodriguez. Main jackpot now over $2.8 million as part of that Oilers 50-50. A reset for Darnell Nurse. Opening minute, second period. Edmonton having outshot Florida 14-7 officially in the first. Draisaitl trying to bulldoze his way up the right-hand side. Lundell will toss it back in. Luostarinen in on the forecheck. A hard rim by Skinner off of Bouchard's body, and here's Darnell Nurse. Right-hand side, flicked ahead by Marchand and cleared back the other way by the Panthers. Skinner to knock it down for Nurse. Another reset. Kulak presenting himself as an outlet. Instead, it goes up the right-hand side to Kasperi Kapanen. Verhaeghe worked it back through the neutral zone. Kulak skates away from traffic. Evander Kane unable to shovel it in. And the Panthers hold their blue line. And a 2-1 lead as a result. Kulak over to Nurse. Fires one up the middle. Spilled in by Kapanen. That's off the plexi. Wrap-up situation in the corner. Sam Bennett. Crowd trying to get the Oilers into it here. Trent Frederick for Edmonton. He was checked hard by Kulikov. Ripped around the boards and dislodged off the half wall, but right to Verhaeghe at his outlet on target. Sprinting up ice. Bennett. Wrist shot. Score! Florida extends to a 3-1 lead. Sam Bennett with his league-leading 11th.
Well, that was an exceptional play by the Florida Panthers on their exit out of the zone, and they swung the puck across. And Bennett, who's added some goal-scoring dimension at his best season this year, finishes it off high to LeBacker's side as John Klingberg had stepped up. The Oilers had no backside support. And that was a pretty nice finish there from Sam Bennett. Got to give him credit.
It's his second of the game. They awarded him a goal in the first period. Verhaeghe thought he had scored, but no. It's Bennett from Verhaeghe and Tkachuk officially. So Sam Bennett on the board for a second time tonight and give him a league-leading 12 now in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Worked up the left-hand side. You've got Nosek tossing it down low. Grabbed by Jake Woolman, who was hurt briefly in the first period. Appears to have shaken it off. And now McDavid up the right-hand side. Open man. Grabbed Corey Perry. One-timer whistled wide. A good look for Woolman, but did not hit the net. 2.5 gone by in the second period. And Florida has taken a 3-1 lead. Sam Bennett, second of the game, 12th of the postseason. Snapped ahead for Podkolzin. Too far. Bobrovsky wanted an icing call, but Podkolzin got into the grill, and now Bouchard with a right point shot that was deflected wide, and two Oilers collided Janmark hit Arvidsson, and the Panthers are away with a puck. No stick. Rodriguez sent it over to Barkov, not realizing he didn't have a stick. Somehow the Panthers keep it alive, and Rodriguez flailing as he fell on his own accord in the corner. Arvidsson the other way, shoots and scores. Bobrovsky, beaten glove side, one he'd like to have back. And Edmonton gets a break. Victor Arvidsson with his second goal of the playoffs, and the Oilers are within 3-2.
Well, to paraphrase Wayne Gretzky, who's in the house, you don't score on 100% of the shots you don't take. And that time, Arvidsson calls him with a little bit of a flyby, and you said it. Sergei Bobrovsky, I tell you, he's got to have that quick response from Edmonton after Bennett's second goal of the game.
So Bennett from Schmidt and Verhaeghe, and the Oilers roar right back. Barely a minute later. Minute 17 between the goals. Bennett's game exactly 2 minutes into the second period. Arvidsson pulls the Oilers within 3-2. And now, of course, you're going to hear the crowd get all over Bobrovsky. Off the draw, the Oilers dump it in. Marchand, a good play off the half wall. Luostarinen gives way to Seth Jones. Wrist shot off the rush and to save Skinner in the rebound. That would not have counted, as that was played with a high stick and swatted wide. The Oilers come the other way, right to left. Kane to Leon Draisaitl. Bobrovsky with a handoff. A big hit laid on down low by Evander Kane, and Draisaitl able to get going here. Off the corner and cleared by Luostarinen. But Colson and Bouchard with the assist on Arvidsson's second of the playoffs. Oilers dump it in. Get back to work on the forecheck. Brown pried loose by Matthew Tkachuk, who now owns possession of the puck, checked by Klingberg. Seth Jones carves it up to Sam Bennett, and it's cleared back through center. Panthers briefly held a 3-1 lead, but now, as you can tell, the crowd revved up behind me as the Oilers have pulled within 3-2. Wallman looking for the tying goal, and he was hip-checked and sent flying by Kulikov, and Wallman's shaken up for a second time tonight.
Oh, that was a trip.
Klingberg fell down. Verhaeghe heads for the Oiler net. Backhander, and he never got it off. Had his stick lifted at the last moment. A tremendous defensive play by Connor Brown. Verhaeghe looked like he was in, Bob, but Brown got back, lifted the stick, and no shot ever materialized for Carter Verhaeghe, whose apparent goal in the first was tipped in by Bennett. So you've got a 3-2 game, and so you can tell behind me the crowd agreed with Bob's assessment of the non-trip on the last sequence. Perry shoots it in. Nugent-Hopkins checked hard by Nate Schmidt. Nudged ahead for Sam Reinhart, and now Rodriguez left to right. He'll beat Ekholm at the blue line. Bouchard comes over to hack it away, and Ekholm launches ahead through the wickets of Nugent-Hopkins and settled by Forsling. Fired a dart down the middle intended for Rodriguez, and no puck touch, which means icing against Florida as Ekholm got back defensively. 14:15 to play in a wildly entertaining game one.
It was Wes McCauley that tripped John Klingberg that led to the scoring chance. Wes is an older official, and this is a fast league where everybody can skate. I mean, Wes has great poise, knows how to manage a game. And that time, just the heels clicked, and that created a scoring opportunity for the Panthers.
Off the draw, high floater sent back the other way. Panthers clear the zone. Kulak to Darnell Nurse, wired back in. Sergei Bobrovsky, here's the taunts. It comes into the slot. Here's a drive, and Darnell Nurse did not get it through. Big hit on Kapanen, thrown by Luostarinen. The puck loose in the corner. Ekblad fell down on his own accord. Barkov couldn't get it out. Draisaitl guides it back to Nurse, across to Kulak. He shoots, and that was deflected in front of Bobrovsky. Panthers had a chance to clear, and Luostarinen got just enough to muscle it back through the middle. Kapanen ahead for Leon Draisaitl, right wing, and he's cut off by Forsling. And a big forecheck by Evander Kane on Sasha Barkov. Sent up the right-hand side by Ekblad. That's twice Forsling has gotten a healthy chunk of Leon Draisaitl tonight at Rogers Place. 3-2 Florida. Oilers a hard rim around the boards. Podkolzin, who set up the goal to Arvidsson, and he just missed a lead pass looking for Janmark in front of the Florida net. Panthers able to chip and charge the other way. Brad Marchand, who scored his 8th career goal in the Stanley Cup final. This is his 21st game in the final round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. That gave Florida a 2-1 lead. Briefly 3-1, now 3-2. Wallman through the middle. Arvidsson back to the corner for Podkolzin. Matthew Tkachuk with a steal, and the Panthers come the other way.
Messenger audio. Swipe up to unlock. Incoming call. Grenade cover. 3 notifications.
I don't know how he did
Messenger. Now. 7:32 p.m. 3 notifications. Messenger. Now. Messenger. You missed a call from Renee.
Beneath the goal line, and he is powered down. Well played by Matthias Janmark, and the Oilers able to get a clear. Matthew Tkachuk misfired on a play intended for Kulikov, who has to reset for Florida with 12:20 to go in this second period.
This is the frenetic energy and physicality we expected tonight.
No touch for Boqvist. That'll be icing against Florida with 12:14 to go in the second period, and the Panthers leading by a score of 3-2. I think, Bennett scoring to make it 3-1, I think that magnifies how important the bounce-back goal for Victor Arvidsson
all
was.
day, and the fact that you got it from some of the non-usual suspects. But this year, that's been a reoccurring theme for the Edmonton Oilers, Jack.
I was going to say that's the norm, not the exception. Off the draw. Oilers on the puck. Corey Perry looking for McDavid. Pursued by Nate Schmidt. This should be a matchup that favors Edmonton here. Nugent Hopkins closing quickly. Trying to clear the puck was Brad Marchand. Couldn't do it. Kulikov to Tomas Nosek. And he'll bring it up the right-hand side for Marchand. Puts the brakes on right half boards. Avoids a couple of checks. Bouchard, nevertheless, able to dislodge the puck. Kept alive by Nosek, and a quick off-balance shot taken by Boqvist on his way off the ice. Saves Skinner. Ekblad on the rebound. Here's Barkov. McDavid right there to muscle the puck off his stick, and the Oilers will get it clear. Perry against Forsling. Racing up the middle as McDavid couldn't make a play. Sam Reinhart cuts left, shoots, and a save made by Skinner from the left circle. Bouchard comes up with a rebound and staggers his way to center, only to have his pocket picked by Rodriguez, who then got belted by McDavid, lifted back in by the Oilers. Everybody hits. Ekblad up the right-hand side. Took a weird hop off the boards. Reinhart couldn't get there, and the Oilers come up with a puck. It's Trent Frederick at his own blue line nearly halfway through the second period. Edmonton trailing 3-2. Wristed in deep by Kulak. Here's Trent Frederick with Lundell on him. Whipped around the right-hand side. Panthers will try to pin it in the corner. 4-player scrum in the corner. Dug out by Reinhart of the Panthers. And Lundell scampers to center before shooting it in. Skinner to knock it down. Lead pass left wing, Trent Frederick. Cross ice, and that was not touched and will turn into an icing call. Not able to get a stick on that puck was Connor Brown.
It's an unforced error there, Jack.
10:21 to play, period 2, and 3-2 for the Florida Panthers.
Good blocker save from Skinner. Adam Henrique's at 53% in the circle. This is an important D-zone draw for him against Bennett, who's having a great game.
Sam Bennett, 2 goals tonight, 12 in this Stanley Cup playoff run, and now 37 in his career in the playoffs. Off the draw, the Oilers are going to be whistled for an icing.
So we would watch him when he played with Calgary
and wonder why he didn't fit.
Right,
especially when Daryl Sutter got there.
They ended up getting a couple second rounders for him, but
he's got 37 goals in 102 career Stanley Cup playoff games, and again, he calls to mind Claude Lemieux with how his game seems to elevate when the Stanley Cup playoffs arrive.
Better fighter. I mean, he's legitimately tough.
Face-off win for Bennett. Gets it back from Tkachuk and hammered one off the collarbone of Skinner, and then Seth Jones shot one wide from the top of the right circle. Rebound, Connor Brown is on it for the Oilers. He'll give it up for Kulak. Lead pass looking for Frederick, intercepted by Seth Jones. Punch back inside the Oiler line, scooped up and cleared by Brown. Halfway through the hockey game. Game 1 of this best-of-7 Stanley Cup final. Bob and I will have Game 2, 6:20 Mountain Time on Friday night. Then the series shifts to Florida for 3 and 4. Evander Kane lifts it down the right-hand side. Kapanen, what a spin move by Draisaitl, but the last moment he was stripped by Tkachuk. Ekblad jumps up, and from center ice, he'll shoot it in for Florida. Panthers in the white uniforms moving left to right in period 2. Draisaitl able to bump it back to center. Kapanen throws it rink wide over to John Klingberg. Back to Draisaitl. Charging in against Forsling. Those two a spirited battle in this game, and it's Draisaitl finishes his check, and a blast by Wallman is swallowed up by Ekblad and cleared by Anton Lundell. Marchand wisely shoots it in for Florida with 9 minutes to go in the second period. Here's a steal for the Panthers. Wrist shot, a save on Barkov by Stuart Skinner. Luostarinen with a steal, a blast by Schmidt, save, and then a great stop on the rebound. Luostarinen, wrist shot. Reinhart had it blocked. And all of a sudden, the Panthers peppering the Edmonton net. Janmark with a key goal-saving block potentially, Bob. Evander Kane able to muscle it back through center, and Janmark too far for Kasperi Kapanen. Lead pass on the right-hand side at Sam Reinhart. Trying to get through Arvidsson. Unsuccessful in that endeavor. John Klingberg comes over to take control of the puck and hit Ekholm. Left wing shot, no. Deflected by Kulikov, and it floats wide. But Colson twists it around the boards for Ekholm. A shot, and that was elevated up off the plexi, handled by Rodriguez. Not out of the zone just yet. Kulikov will spin and locate a bouncing puck. Janmark's all over him. Quickly, Seth Jones tries to snap it up to center and does so, where it's settled by Ekholm of Edmonton, who dumps it back in. Jones to the middle for Evan Rodriguez. 8 minutes to go in this rapidly moving second period. Rodriguez shoots it in for the Panthers. Evan Bouchard over to Matthias Ekholm. Looks up ice. Corey Perry. He got flattened. A hard hit right in the small of his back by Ekblad. And a couple cross checks from Matthew Tkachuk on Corey Perry. Bouchard takes an outlet from Ekholm and sends one into the corner of the Florida zone. Ekblad mishandled it. And off that turnover, Nugent Hopkins up top. Shot deflected. Meanwhile, Perry is wrapped up with Ekblad. Was not available to grab the rebound, and the crowd felt he was held. Nugent Hopkins inside his own blue line. 7:15 to go in the second period. Just a cavalcade of sound here at Rogers Place. What an atmosphere for a Game 1 Stanley Cup final. Lifted in deep by Ekblad. Settled by Kulak. Up to Darnell Nurse. He'll shoot it in from the red line. That'll kick off the plexi. And it's Forsling with Connor Brown on him. Pitchfork safely out of the zone by the Panthers. And Wallman makes a nifty move around Brad Marchand. Nurse to Connor Brown. Poke checked off his stick. Adam Henrique is there for the Oilers, looking for the equalizer. Slap pass. Wallman, backhander, save made. Bobrovsky. Forsling went down to block it as well. Henrique up top. Wallman, slide step on Marchand with 6.5 to go in the second period. Shot, double deflection, and a save made by Bobrovsky. Frederick, the last man to touch the puck for the Oilers, and Bobrovsky somehow kept it out, atoning for that earlier soft goal he issued to Arvidsson. Here's a lead, look, and launch for the Panthers that's going to be whistled for icing as Ekholm got back. 6:18 to go in the second period. It's been a furious pace. Game 1 of the Stanley Cup final has lived up to its advanced billing, and it's hard to believe that it's matched the overhype. But Bob, I'll tell you what, we're not even 2 periods into this series, and it feels like an instant classic.
And Evander Kane's trying to get Ekblad going. There's no chance Ekblad will take that fight. Ratcheting up here.
Bobrovsky, a good save on that double deflection.
Yeah, and then
in front of him.
Frederick just couldn't pick it up cleanly.
Panthers have outshot the Oilers 9-2 in this second period, but Arvidsson's soft goal has sawed it off.
And Skinner with a couple great saves. Otherwise, they would have restored their 2-goal lead.
And a key shot block by Janmark. Here's Evander Kane. Pass not handled by Bouchard. Panthers come through the middle, shoveled in by Luostarinen. That's grabbed by Matthias Ekholm. Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals, sold-out crowd in Edmonton, Alberta. Just a gorgeous afternoon. And the two best teams in the National Hockey League collide with a cup at stake. Here's Draisaitl, a little give and go with McDavid. 5-on-5, they're on together. Shot by Bouchard and a sprawling right pad save made by Sergei Bobrovsky. Seth Jones the other way for Florida. He'll fling it around the boards. Barkov to Sam Reinhart, shadowed by McDavid. Rodriguez comes over, gets it right back from Niko Mikkola. Front of the net, Sam Reinhart skates away from the half wall. A shot redirected. Mikkola couldn't get the rebound. Barkov pursuing, blasted back in by Mikkola, but from center ice. Rodriguez first on the puck for Florida. Matthew Tkachuk backs his way in, heads for the net, only to see it clubbed back the other way by Bouchard. Rolling puck, Bobrovsky with traffic going up the middle, and a perfectly executed pass to Tkachuk. Right circle, loads and fires, and what a play by Arvidsson. A key back check, wrist shot, whistled wide by Nate Schmidt. Rebound thrown back to Schmidt. Looks for Kulikov, a one-timer, and that was blocked. And the Oilers have numbers coming the other way. But Kulikov able to cancel those out when he made a hard play on Janmark over to Arvidsson, and he'll wrist it down low. Here's Janmark, a drive, and that went off Schmidt. Stayed out. Janmark around the boards. Corey Perry on the puck for Edmonton. He'll drop it off, but Colson up top. Sent across to Darnell Nurse. Top of the left circle. Trying to get around Matthew Tkachuk. Can't do it. Forced off and now waved at, and Kulikov is able to shrug off a check. The puck rolled in front briefly. Tkachuk got there, and here comes Sam Bennett. 2-on-2 for the Panthers, left to right. He'll drop it off over the line for Schmidt. He got blasted into the boards by Nugent Hopkins. Settled down and on to Verhaeghe. A shot, and that might have kissed the leather of Stuart Skinner, but Darnell Nurse got a stick in the lane and may have elevated that up over top. A shot by Forsling stays out from the left point, and a rebound held in by Ekblad. 3-2 Florida. Lundell shoots wide. Forsling will step up, take it off the left half boards, and a wrist shot disappears into the midsection of Stuart Skinner. And finally, we're going to take our first break, I believe, of the second period. 3:52 to go. What action between these two? Edmonton, Florida, game one of this best-of-7 Stanley Cup final. And the scoreboard reads, Florida 3, Edmonton 2. This is Ford Dealers NHL Hockey, the Oilers Radio Network. 3-2 hockey game in favor of Florida. 3:52 to play in a second period that has seen the Panthers, who were outshot 14-7 in the first, come back to outshoot the Oilers 11-3 in the second. And when Sam Bennett made 3-1 2 minutes into this second period, it looked like the Panthers might be ready to pull away, but Sergei Bobrovsky issued a soft one to Victor Arvidsson. Off his glove and in, and it's remained 3-2 ever since. Stuart Skinner has settled in. Off the draw to the right of Skinner, won by Adam Henrique. Quarterbacking is Klingberg. This second period has moved in lightning-fast fashion. Forsling thundered into by Connor Brown. Frederick joins the fray. Ekblad tried to go against the grain back to Forsling, and it succeeds when Forsling lifts it out of the zone, and that was going to roll dead at the feet of Stuart Skinner. So Ekholm will take over as we go inside 3.5 minutes to play in period 2. Jack Michaels, Bob Stauffer with you. High atop Rogers Place in our Legacy Heating and Cooling broadcast booth. Home of no interest, no payments for 1 year. Ekholm's outlet pass is deflected into the Florida bench, occupied by Paul Maurice. Chris Knobloch, 27-14 in his Stanley Cup playoff career on the Oiler bench.
Stationary breakout there for Edmonton. You kind of like to get the puck out of your own zone. And they're taking away that play where Edmonton sends a defenseman up the middle of the ice, and he basically stops, pops, and drops, hits a forward breaking. Florida, they will have their D chase low in the Oilers' offensive zone to thwart plays and eliminate, almost completely opposite of how Los Angeles plays neutral zone.
Off the draw, quick shot by Lundell, stopped by goaltender Stuart Skinner. Here's a give and go, and the return. Kapanen got away with a check on the Osterinen. That was an obvious interference call, but the Panthers break up a rush the other way and wrist one high and wide, Osterinen. Rebound came off the boards of Evander Kane. Got it to Ekholm, and then offered it up, looking for Klingberg, who clears back to center. He'll jump up. Tkachuk was drilled and dropped to the ice by Evander Kane. Was he the sixth guy out there, Bob?
Yep, he was.
I thought so. They got away with one. Both teams get away with one. There was clear interference. I mean, Kapanen absolutely belted Luostarinen. Mikkola up the right-hand side. One touch, Tkachuk. Sam Bennett will shoot it in. These two teams so physical. You're going to see that more than one occasion in this series as Tkachuk rolls one at the feet of Stuart Skinner from a sharp angle. He'll scoop it up, and with 2:18 to go in the second period, we will take another break from Rogers Place. Witness to a terrific Game 1 thus far of the Stanley Cup Final. Late second, it's Florida 3, Edmonton 2, a Stanley Cup Final rematch right here. The Oilers Radio Network.
When it comes to your new home, nothing.
With the puck set to be dropped to the right of Stuart Skinner, Connor Brown comes onto the ice to join McDavid and Nugent Hopkins in Perry's spot. Ekholm and Bouchard defensively. Welcome back inside Rogers Place. The energy cascading throughout this building for Game 1 of the final. Florida 3, Edmonton 2. The Oilers scored 66 seconds in. Panthers got the next 3, and then Arvidsson scored off the glove of Bobrovsky to keep this a 3-2 game. Florida leading, having been outshot 14-7 in the first. The Panthers have come back and outshot the Oilers 13-3 here in the second.
It's been a clinic from Florida in the second. Oilers are going to have to dig in here.
Well, one guy who's digging in is we're having more puck drop issues in this face-off circle, which is frustrating for everyone involved. But Stuart Skinner has come up with the goods after we saw Bobrovsky make a number of quality saves in the first period. Skinner has done likewise here in the second. Draw one by Verhaeghe. Here's Forsling to Matthew Tkachuk. Wrist shot does not make its way through. Boy, Jake Wallman's getting beat up in this game. That's a painful block for Wallman. His second of the game. Here's Bennett. Has scored twice. Pursued by McDavid. One-timer Ekblad. And a save made by Stuart Skinner against the first overall pick in the 2014 draft. And Bob, it doesn't end there, does it?
Well, there's 4 of them. First 4 players from that draft are in this game. Obviously, Sam Reinhart went second to Buffalo. And then Leon Draisaitl, considered the best player from that draft year, went third. And Sam Bennett tonight's been the best player. He's been directly involved in all 3 goals. Disputed goal, ended up getting a piece of it. That resulted in an Oilers challenge that they lost. They got a power play goal, and then he's got the go-ahead goal. Well, it's a 3-1 goal. And right now, he's been a huge difference tonight.
And there's one other first-round pick from that 14 draft in this game. Here's a shot by Sam Reinhart that dribbles into the waiting arms of Stuart Skinner as the Oilers defended well, and Reinhart did not get all he wanted on that shot. Skinner makes a routine save.
A couple changes here. Arvidsson, who's scored a goal here, he is up with the Edmonton Oilers, Leon Draisaitl and Evander Kane.
And that means the other first-round pick from 2014 has been dropped off that line for right now.
Yep.
Kasperi Kapanen went 22nd that year to Pittsburgh.
They keep winning draws.
Here's a drive and a redirect off of Niko Mikkola. Gobbled up on the rebound by Seth Jones. A wraparound, and that was kept out by a combination of Skinner and Nurse. Leon Draisaitl leaves it for Nurse. And then a weird hop off the stanchion right to the Panthers. And Skinner with a poke check on Barkov keeps it out. And the Oilers still trail just 3-2 with Kane and Draisaitl steaming the other way. And Kane just missed Draisaitl, who was slashed. This is going to be a penalty against Florida. Arvidsson behind the net for Draisaitl. Get worked over by Mikkola in the corner, and the action called to a halt with 1:13 to go. And Mikkola was exchanging forearm shivers with Leon Draisaitl, and then Evander Kane put an end to that. Darnell Nurse in support of Kane. And they're going to bring the face-off outside the zone because Nurse came beneath the circles. So this power play will start in the neutral zone when we come back. But the Oilers on a high stick, not a slash. My apologies. We'll be on the power play. That power play presented by Atco Energy is on the way. Evan Rodriguez to the box. Panthers 3, Edmonton 2. This is Ford Dealers NHL Hockey. Live coverage of Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final. The Oilers Radio Network.
Beef Mama Burger and Fries for only $5. Available in-store or on the A&W mobile app at participating locations in Oil Country. This fantastic deal is available all day today at A&W.
Well, Sam Bennett has tied an NHL record. 11 of his 12 goals in this Stanley Cup postseason have come on the road. Only Mark Scheifele for Winnipeg back in 2018 had ever done that, helping put the Panthers ahead 3-1. But Arvidsson got one back in this second period, and now Edmonton will look to tie it before we head to the third. Minute 13 to go. Rodriguez in the box for high sticking, and the Oilers on the Atco power play. McDavid, Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins, Perry, and Bouchard. Your Atco Energy power play quintet. Atco, your trusted Alberta retailer, and Draisaitl will take the draw against Barkov, and of course he won't. Chased off the dot, replaced by McDavid. It's a neutral zone faceoff because Nurse came beneath the circles to help Evander Kane muscle Nico Mikkola out of a confrontation involving Draisaitl. McDavid won a faceoff, tried to dance around Sam Reinhart, couldn't do it. Now McDavid dialing it up against Bouchard. Right-hand side, he'll give it up to Evan Bouchard from Draisaitl over to Nugent Hopkins. Bouchard high slot, 1 minute to play, period 2. Edmonton looking for the equalizer. Bouchard a shot and a save made. Sergei Bobrovsky. Rebound sent to the corner for McDavid, who trades spots with Nugent Hopkins. Top of the left circle, sidecar is Bouchard. Over to Leon Draisaitl, outside the right circle, close to his office. Bouchard, McDavid, left face-off dot. Bouchard to Draisaitl, one-timer, and that stayed out. A deflection to McDavid, guided back. Here's Bouchard, McDavid, left circle, Nugent Hopkins, a shot and a save made. Sergei Bobrovsky, Draisaitl the rebound to McDavid. Draisaitl, and a one-timer block. Draisaitl got it back, calling for it. Bouchard, he'll give it to him, high slot. 15 seconds to go in the period. McDavid, Draisaitl, one-timer, Bouchard, save Bobrovsky, rebound. Barkov turns and whips it up the right-hand side, and that'll be all for period 2. The Oilers will have a fresh sheet of ice in approximately 47 seconds on the Atco power play, while Florida will try to extend a winning streak that has now reached 30 in a row. 30 straight victories for the Florida Panthers when leading after 2 periods in the Stanley Cup playoffs. You don't get to 3 consecutive Stanley Cup finals without a few of those statistics. And the Panthers, the defending Stanley Cup champions, take a 3-2 lead to the dressing room after a pretty solid second period turned in Florida. Edmonton had a good first. Florida out shooting the Oilers by a count of 17-8 in the second period. But much as Sergei Bobrovsky kept it close in the first, well, Stuart Skinner did the same in the second.
Sure did. And Jack, at one point the shots were 17-4 before Edmonton got that power play at the end of the period. I like that power play. They got a lot of shots on the net, but Bobrovsky made some solid saves. So, look, they're playing a heck of a team. That was, if I'm Paul Maurice, he couldn't ask for a better second period other than the goal against Arvidsson. Really, Florida should...
3-2 hockey game for the Florida Panthers. They lead the Edmonton Oilers, who will be on the power play for the first 47 seconds of this final period. Again, the Panthers have won 30 games in a row in the Stanley Cup playoffs when leading after 2 periods. The Oilers, their first 6 victories this postseason were in come-from-behind fashion. 3 of those when they trailed after 2. Draisaitl wins the face-off from Nosek, and our Atco power play resumes. Jack, Bob, Bryn, and Rob with you live from Rogers Place, Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final. Panthers with a 3-2 lead, and McDavid's pass to the left wing was deflected. Bouchard put it behind Nosek, race for the puck. Bobrovsky did not make contact with it, kept alive for Draisaitl, and now Bouchard high slot. Bobrovsky missed the puck, and now Edmonton with new life. Here's Draisaitl, operating top of the right circle. He opened the scoring 66 seconds into this game. Bouchard gives it back to Draisaitl. Brief mishandle. Bouchard a one-timer, redirected, backhanded, cross ice, and that was deflected away. The extra pass looking for Nugent Hopkins. Forsling slapped it back to center. Bouchard to McDavid. Quadruple teamed, whistled up the right-hand side. Rodriguez out of the box, and the power play comes to an end. The Oilers are 0 for 3 tonight with a man advantage. The Panthers 1 of 2. Lead pass, left wing Kulak, knocked off his stick, Kapanen. For the teams now skating 5-on-5. Big hit, Mikko Mikkola, and the puck squirted free. Mikkola found it first. The Oilers lost sight of that puck for a while, and Reinhart was able to shake off Kapanen to make certain of a clear in deep. Barkov put it behind the net. That eluded Evan Rodriguez. Evander Kane gave it right back to Rodriguez. From center ice, he'll shoot it in. Line change, Florida. Oilers with a puck. Kulak gets it back from Darnell Nurse. 90 seconds into this final period. Florida 3, Edmonton 2. The Oilers left to right, chipping and charging. But Colson in on Kulikov, who brushed him off up the right-hand side, out of the reach of Matthew Tkachuk. Last year, a shutout for Sergei Bobrovsky in Game 1, and Edmonton lost 3-0 despite outshooting the Panthers by a count of 32-18. Ekholm up the left-hand side. Bennett will drop it for Kulikov. We have not seen a shot on net in the first 2 minutes of the final period. First 2 periods. First was 14-7 for Edmonton on the shot clock, then 17-8 for the Panthers, who dump it in on net. Sam Bennett watches that 2-bouncer disappear into the glove of Stuart Skinner. But Bennett, a smart play, because Florida now will get an ozone draw.
Not charging.
Difference in this game right now. The challenge and then the subsequent power play and the lost challenge by Edmonton on what was awarded a Bennett goal, and they opened up a seam on Edmonton's PK. Florida 1 for 2 in the power play. The Oilers are 0 for 3, and in a one-goal game, that's enough to be the difference.
Oilers with 16 players back from last year's team that lost in 7 to Florida. The Panthers with 14. Chipped off the glass and out, looking for Connor Brown, left wing. Was hacked away from him. Pitchforked the other way by Aaron Ekblad. Grabbed by Luos Storinen. 2-on-2. Anton Lundell. Poke check delivered by Klingberg, and off that loose puck, Klingberg burrows his way in to Anton Lundell. Luos Storinen hovering close by. Puck came free. Ekholm on his backhand. He'll lift it safely back to center, where it's settled by Ekblad. Up the right-hand boards, and that's controlled by Corey Perry. On to Frederick. He lost the handle. Chipped ahead for Brad Marchand. Centering pass. Backhander. Luos Storinen missed the net. What a setup, and Luos Storinen busting down the seam, unable to finish.
Got to make sure of it, puck maintenance-wise.
And just 9 goals during the regular season, but 4 here in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Draisaitl weaving his way in and sending it in deep. Perry and McDavid on the ice. As Bob, it remains to be seen. I wonder for the rest of the game, unless the Oilers tie it up. 16:40 to go here in the third period. Is it just one shift, or is it rest of the game? Wallman a shot, and that missed high glove. Draisaitl knocked it down for Bouchard. A high toss, a leaping play by Perry. Here's Connor McDavid directly behind the net. Tried to find Draisaitl, broken up, and here comes Evan Rodriguez working his way through the neutral zone. Partially checked by Bouchard. Puck shaken free for Jake Wallman. Bouchard to reset for Edmonton.
So Florida plays an aggressive forecheck, a 1-2-2 in the neutral zone aggressive, and then they play man defense, but they always leave one defender in front of the net.
Boquist up the right-hand side, fourth line on for Florida. He'll jam it in deep. Jonah Gadjevich in against Kulak, who fended him off effectively with Kapanen up the left-hand side. Puck rolled off his stick. Here's Nate Schmidt. He'll bring it to center and shoot it in. They're going to give him the red line. Darnell Nurse coughed it up. On the puck first, and off balance was Gadjevich. Boquist shielded from the puck by Adam Henrique, and a clear by Evander Kane. Chases Florida back to its own blue line. Darnell Nurse at the blue, looking for Evander Kane. Double teamed, and Matthew Tkachuk came up high with a forearm, and Kane did not like it at all. Here's Ekblad, right side for Carter Verhaeghe. Swung at and missed by Matthew Tkachuk. Mishandled briefly by Arvidsson. And now swooping in with a steal. Carter Verhaeghe. Drag move. Shot. And that was deflected out of play. Ekholm in the lane. Carter Verhaeghe pounced and made a steal and an aggressive move to the slot. But it remains 3-2 Florida.
Right now, the Florida Panthers have the Oilers in the shrink wrap in the neutral ice. They are funneling and giving the Oilers no time and space It's almost the exact opposite in neutral zone that the LA Kings run. And it's effective. Now, they got good defenders that can skate. That's part of the reason why they can do it. And they're masters at it. And this has been, Jack, really, for at even strength in the last 25 minutes of this game, this has been a clinic from Florida, other than the one bad bounce goal from Victor Arvidsson on Bobrovsky. They have really taken away any kind of flow and tempo and pace from the Edmonton Oilers.
Well, the good news for Edmonton, 15 minutes remain. Off the draw, Darnell Nurse looking for Kulak. He's got it. Lost the handle. Florida able to pry it loose. Brad Marchand to Lundell. Poke checked at the line by Nurse. Shot back in by Lundell. Skinner will leave it for Brett Kulak. Marchand with pressure. Lubo-Storinen tried to feed Marchand and now cleared up the right-hand side and out. Ekblad fell down. Connor Brown lost the handle. What a chance. The Panthers were down a man there. Shot in by Barkov. Overrunning the play was Sam Reinhart. Connor Brown back to center, and another man fell. This one, Mikkola. So all of a sudden, the Panthers are toe-picking all over the place, and Edmonton will jam it right back into the Florida zone. Bobrovsky to Evan Rodriguez. He'll bring it to center and snap it around the boards. Wallman will gobble it up for Edmonton. Nearly 6 minutes gone in this third period, and the Oilers do not have a shot on net. Bob, this is something we saw in the West Final that Edmonton did to Dallas on a regular basis. Here's Perry breaking loose, and a quick shot by Wallman, stopped by goaltender Sergei Bobrovsky. Swarmed under was Leon Draisaitl, and it's shoveled back the other way and out by Rodriguez. And no question about it, Chris Knobloch loading up McDavid and Draisaitl for the third period with his team trailing by a score of 3-2. Rifled in by Perry. Nate Schmidt able to pick it up for Florida. The veteran D-man has 2 assists tonight, and the Panthers smack it out of midair. Schmidt in his 12th year with his 5th different team. Oilers move in left to right. Kapanen to the net. McDavid out front, shooting and scoring. Matthias Ekholm ties the game. 3-3, brand new hockey game. 13 and a half to go.
Well, Kasperi Kapanen's going to pick up his second assist. He placed the puck down low, but David drives on his backhand and activated from the left side point. Evander came through the wash, and Ekholm has scored to tie the game.
Saucer pass, and I'm not sure Bobrovsky ever saw it as it went over his left shoulder. Traffic in front. Sam Bennett might have gotten a partial screen inadvertently on his own goaltender.
Oh, Jack, look at those shots. It's 25-24 in Florida. We're tied 3-3. We said it was going to be a heavyweight tilt.
Off the draw, Edmonton controls. Kapanen on a lead pass, powering his way through Nate Schmidt. Edmonton has rallied from 3-1 down in the second period to tie it up. Chipped up the left-hand side. Gadjevich on to Jesper Boqvist. He'll gain the Edmonton line. Ekholm cut him off. Tomas Nosek around the boards and grabbed by John Klingberg. Ekholm's second game back, had an assist in the series clincher against Dallas, and now comes up with the equalizer. Evander Kane forced out live, left wing, tried to one-hand it in front, and that was well defended. Lubo-Storinen on the puck for the Florida Panthers. Clear back through center. Janmark will drop it off to Darnell Nurse. Brand new hockey game, 12 and a half to go. McDavid and Kapanen with assists on Ekholm's first of the postseason at 6:33 in the third. And it came on just Edmonton's second shot of the period. Puck cleared into the Florida bench, and we'll take timeout with 12 and a quarter to go in the third period. We are tied at 3. Florida, Edmonton, game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final. The Oilers Radio Network.
Hey Edmonton, big moves need big talent, and AMJ is your go-to partner. For all local residential and commercial relocations, AMJ delivers a smooth, stress-free experience. AMJ, your team for every move. Contact your local branch today.
Do your tires feel like hockey pucks on the road? Perhaps it's time for a new set of
12:15 remaining third period. Florida's 3-1 lead is gone. And remember, the Panthers coming into this game had won 30 in a row in the Stanley Cup playoffs when leading after 2 periods. Now, I have to say this, Bob. Edmonton ended a long streak by the Vegas Golden Knights in the second round. Vegas had won 42 in a row when leading after 2 periods. So, again, these numbers, they can mean very little. Panthers in from the right-hand side. Henrique off a block shot by Trent Frederick. Swarmed under by Alexander Barkov. A centering pass intended for Reinhart. One time by Forsling off balance, and that was smothered. Kulak had it knocked off the stick by Reinhart. Interior pass intended for Barkov from Rodriguez was deflected back to center. Shoveled in by Forsling, and line change coming for Florida.
This forecheck is something from Florida.
Here's Nurse up the left-hand side. Draisaitl swings it ahead for Connor McDavid, challenging Mikkola hard to the net. Forced out behind, just set up the equalizer moments ago. Wallman to Bouchard. And now Leon Draisaitl, McDavid's first point of the final. An assist on the game-tying goal. What a play hand-eye-wise by Luos Torinen. A double deflection to knock it back to center, and here come the Panthers. Anton Lundell. One pass too many. A lateral maneuver that was deflected. Draisaitl change of pace on Forsling, and then he missed the net. Bouchard shoots, and that was heading wide. And Bobrovsky, rather conservatively, elects to stick it in his hot hip pocket with 10:58 remaining in the third period, and the game still tied at 3. Jack Michaels, Bob Stauffer with you, reminding you that your Oilers 50-50 jackpot is climbing toward $3.5 million. $3.5 million.
This team is physical. The one thing that surprised me, Florida's won 57% of the draws. They've had a lot of puck possession off of draws. But they are, when Edmonton's trying to do those cycles, those long cycles, they are finishing checks. Even after the Oilers do a switch off on the pucks.
Bennett digs in, wins a face-off from Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Gustav Forsling didn't get all he wanted on that clearing attempt, but still it's wedged out successfully. Verhaeghe once again has his shot disrupted, this time by Wallman. The Oilers hack it back the other way, and that'll be an icing call with 10:42 on the game clock. We are 3's wild. 3-3 in the third. Florida, Edmonton. Florida's third straight trip to the Stanley Cup final. The Edmonton Oilers making a return visit after losing in 7 games to the Panthers last year.
43% against 33% in the circle here in the playoffs. Nugent-Hopkins against Bennett.
And Nugent-Hopkins wins the face-off. Bouchard tried to clear, knocked down by Verhaeghe. Wallman came over to make a play. Vander Kane tripped up by Ekblad. The battle ensues along the half wall. Kane has the puck wedged underneath his body, carved out of there by Verhaeghe, but Wallman's there to seal him off. Breaking free is Ekblad, but he's on his backhand. And all he can do is float it out of the reach of Matthew Tkachuk. Bouchard reverses back behind for Jake Wallman. Lead pass broken up by Tkachuk. Florida riding a 5-game winning streak on the road in these Stanley Cup playoffs. 8-2 overall away from home. Kane smashed into by Ekblad. Bennett trying to cut around Jake Wallman. The puck remains available. Carter Verhaeghe will chip it back to Forsling. Right point. He'll send it around the boards. Verhaeghe double teamed, and then the puck still loose. Tkachuk put it back into bodies, and finally Nugent-Hopkins escapes only as far as center ice. Ekblad able to guide one over to Forsling up the left-hand side. This should be icing against Florida, and there's the whistle with 9:37 left in regulation. The game tied at 3, and with an offensive zone face-off upcoming, it's McDavid, Draisaitl, and Perry over the boards, sent by Chris Knobloch to join what looks to be a pairing of Matthias Ekholm and John Klingberg.
It looks like Wallman's playing more with Bouchard.
Yeah, they've kind of started to go in that as this game has wore on. And we saw that a little bit during the regular season when Wallman first joined the team. Acquired via trade with San Jose. Nosek against Draisaitl. Face off to the right of Sergei Bobrovsky, who started off a little wobbly in this postseason. Played to a save percentage of 87 in his first 8 games, 94 in his last 9. But he gave up a soft goal to Arvidsson to shrink the lead to 3-2, and then Ekholm tied it here in the third. Now looking to give the team the lead. A backhander McDavid and a save made by Bobrovsky, and it might have caught the outside of the post after Bobrovsky got an initial piece. Wristed down deep by Reinhart. If it did, that would be McDavid's second pipe of the night. Here's Draisaitl on an outlet pass to McDavid, challenging Seth Jones. A wrist shot and a glove save made. Sergei Bobrovsky with 9:01 to play in the third. The shots 26-25 for Edmonton. The score 3-3. Panthers, Oilers. Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final continues in just a moment with Ford Dealers NHL Hockey. The Oilers Radio Network.
This is the Oilers Radio Network.
9 minutes to play. Game 1 of the Cup Final tied at 3. Highly anticipated rematch between the Oilers and the Panthers. Adam Henrique, offensive zone face-off to the right of Bobrovsky coming out of the break. Brown and Frederick as line mates. It's tapped back to Kulak. A shot and a stop made by Bobrovsky, and then Frederick had his stick tied up by Barkov on the rebound. Bob, we just found out why Barkov's won 3 Selkies in the last 5 years.
He just pulled a goal out of the net is what he did. Stop Frederick from getting a clean look. Great play by him.
Darnell Nurse lasers one up the left-hand side. Henrique stood up by Kulikov. Right side, you have Barkov squeezed against the boards right in front of the Edmonton bench by Nurse. The puck remains available. The blue line. Marchand tried to center for Nate Schmidt. Spins away from traffic. Right circle. Wrist shot. Save. Skinner. Rebound available for just a moment. And played by Brown behind his own net. Kulak disrupted. Here's that third line of Florida we talked about is so key to negate. Shot by Kulikov doesn't make its way through. Schmidt, 2 assists tonight. Holds the zone for Marchand. Snapped it in front. Florida couldn't get there. Lundell from the corner fires off the outside of the post. That wasn't going in. Might have sounded closer than it actually was. And Nurse will wind it up the right-hand side. Schmidt was on his way off for a change and instead will send it up the middle. Luostarinen left it for Kulikov, backhanded toward the Oiler net. And now with 7:45 to go, it's a reload for Evan Bouchard. Off the boards, Janmark got it off his skate to Wallman. Arvidsson turned it over at the line, and it was immediately whistled back in by Janmark. Jack Michaels, Bob Stauffer with you. Legacy Heating and Cooling broadcast booth. 3-3 in game 1. Here's Verhaeghe looking to give Florida the lead again. His wrist shot was flubbed. Panthers trailed 1-0 early, battled into a 3-1 lead. They've coughed it up, and Edmonton has gotten this game even. Podkolzin to Victor Arvidsson in the corner, trapped by Ekblad. Podkolzin stolen away by Matthew Tkachuk, and here's Sam Bennett up to center. He bumped it off the stick of Klingberg, settled by McDavid, and now Connor McDavid, who set up the game-tying goal for Ekholm here in the third period, gives way to Klingberg. He shoots on net, and Bobrovsky, with nowhere to move it, forced to freeze it with 6:53 to play in the third. The Oilers 3 and the Panthers 3.
Well, that third line, Jack, every time they're on the ice for Florida, they are tilting the ice. Lundell's a great two-way player. Let's face it, he's a second-line center playing in the 3-hole. And then Marchand.
And we've seen him play in the 1-hole often. Whenever Barkov's out, Lundell plays there.
Yep.
And as good as Barkov is, you don't miss much with Lundell there.
Obviously, you have to think that with Bennett being a UFA, he's going to get paid. My guess is he gets paid in Florida. There's no way they can afford to lose.
3 notifications. Sportsnet. Now, NHL news. Oilers at home tally first goal of playoffs with big time marker.
And I think inarguably at playoff time. Here's Rodriguez. Drilled by McDavid. Draisaitl snapped it across. Wallman to Bouchard. Loading up. Shooting, and a save made by Bobrovsky on a wrist shot.
Mikkola just boxed the Oilers' Corey Perry right out of the plate.
Panthers, Evan Rodriguez as far as the Edmonton line. Soft toss by Ekholm was grabbed and snapped up ice by Seth Jones. Turned over at the Oiler blue line. Here's Leon Draisaitl launching it toward the Florida net, and coming out to field that like a center fielder was Sergei Bobrovsky. Picked it up off the ice surface with 6:16 to go in the third, and a faceoff will come to his left, and McDavid and Draisaitl will change here with the game tied at 3.
Well, Florida won here 6-5 back in December the 16th. That was a high-scoring game. Stu Skinner tell you probably should have had one of the goals back. And then 4-3 when Edmonton was not playing very well coming out of the Four Nations face-off, and the Oilers were outplayed by Florida that night.
3-3 our score. Face-off left side of Sergei Bobrovsky. Evander Kane lines up for the draw. And Lundell waits and then wins the draw from Kane. Hoisted up by Forsling. Kicked. Marchand tried to go right around Klingberg. Nugent Hopkins gives it back to Wallman, on to Klingberg. Launch back toward the Florida blue line and quickly swept by Ekblad back toward the Edmonton blue. Klingberg to Kasperi Kapanen, who's assisted on 2 of the 3 Edmonton goals tonight, his first 2 assists of the playoffs. Bobrovsky off a dump it, nearly turned it over, jabbed at, and played back to Klingberg. Klingberg a shot, and Bobrovsky did not hold it. Wow. It came free. One-timer Wallman, and this time Bobrovsky will hold it, and an extra jab by Kane will draw the attention of the Panthers. Kane and Ekblad pawing at one another. 5:36 to go in the third period. Down the stretch in Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final. We are tied at 3. The Oilers have battled back from a 2-goal deficit in Game 1. We'll have the final 5.5 in regulation on the other side. This is Ford Dealers NHL Hockey, the Stanley Cup Final. The Oilers Radio Network. Well, it's been 6 straight years a team from the Sunshine State has represented the Eastern Conference in the Stanley Cup Final. First 3 to Tampa. The Lightning won 2 of those, and the Panthers trying to win their second in their 3rd straight trip to the Stanley Cup Final. This is Game 1, and the Panthers and the Oilers have forged a 3-3 tie after 55 minutes. 5.5 to go. The Panthers off the draw, dump it in. Kulak's going to be guilty of icing here, and the whistle goes with officially 5:23 remaining in the third period. A third period that has seen the pendulum swing back toward the home team. First period all Edmonton, second period Florida. And Bob, what have you seen here in the third?
Well, the shots speak for themselves. It's 11-3. Another Nugent Hopkins versus Bennett D-zone draw for the Oilers. Ryan's got to win the puck here.
And he does so. Darnell Nurse from behind his own net missed Kane. A drive by Ekblad redirected. Bennett could not get it cleanly on the tape of Carter Verhaeghe, and the Oilers send it in deep. Kapanen, Ekblad to reverse up the left-hand side. Verhaeghe not out of the zone, held in by Kulak. Verhaeghe tripped up, lying prone on the ice, could not get it out. Kapanen will roll toward the net, back pass, and short side. Nugent Hopkins couldn't bury it. Verhaeghe this time floats one through the neutral zone. Going to be picked up by Darnell Nurse. He'll take a skate with 4:45 left in regulation. The tension oozing from the ice surface throughout the building. Nurse shoots it in off a skate. Landed high up on the plexi. Rodriguez and Nurse collided in the corner, and out of the fray comes Alexander Barkov, who is yet to get on the score sheet tonight for the Florida Panthers. Barkov, though, with a steal, a shot, blocked, rebound. Barkov tried to center, and Skinner denied him. Rebound Bouchard. Barkov was given a gift and did not take full advantage. He was drilled as he got it to the Edmonton blue line. Ekholm not getting impatient. Threw it over to Bouchard. He'll, in turn, whip it around the boards. Adam Henrique, Connor Brown, and Trent Frederick on the ice. Henrique to Wallman. A shot deflected into the glove of Sergei Bobrovsky with 3:53 to play in the third. And the Oilers and Panthers still tied at 3. Again, Draisaitl opened the scoring a minute 6 in. Bennett scored twice, and Marchand a power play goal to give the Panthers a 3-1 lead through 22 minutes. But a key goal issued by Bobrovsky, a soft one, off his glove from Arvidsson, put Edmonton right back in the game at 3-2 early in the second. And Ekholm was tied it here in the third. Face off to Bobrovsky's right. Henrique against Lundell of Florida. Off the draw, gathered Lundell. Frederick pestering, forced back behind the net. Luostarinen. He half fanned on that clear, and it's held in by Henrique to the middle of the ice, and he missed Connor Brown. Nate Schmidt working it up the right-hand side. Brown needed a new stick. It was shattered, and Florida was able to clear. Wallman over to Klingberg, and it's another reset for Edmonton. All of a sudden, they've gone back to Wallman and Klingberg as Chris Knobloch and Paul Coffey and Mark Stewart continue to shuffle the pairs. Here's Nosek. Up to Boqvist. Brad Marchand reeled in from behind by Matthias Janmark. By the time he scooped it up at the blue line, Florida needed to tag back up. Ekblad to Gustav Forsling and bumped in by Boqvist. Bouncing puck. Skinner out to handle it. Smacked away from Nosek. Victor Arvidsson on the puck for Edmonton. He'll put it off the boards in front of the Edmonton bench. Boqvist looking to regroup and counter. Can't do it. Oilers with a chance now. It's Podkolzin. He beats Forsling to the net. Save Bobrovsky, and somehow the puck stayed out on the rebound. Kapanen looked to get it back. What a hard net drive by Vasily Podkolzin, who now joins Kapanen in on the forecheck. Ekblad able to pry it loose. Put too much on it. This could be icing. No. Waved off at the last instant by Scott Cherry. Reset for Darnell Nurse. 2:20 to play in regulation. And the game tied at 3. The outlet pass in and deep. Oilers, Kapanen moving in right-hand side. Reverse back behind. Kulikov tried to shovel it out. Couldn't get it out. Held in by Nugent Hopkins. Put behind the net. Out of the reach of Evander Kane. Panthers, lead pass. Sam Bennett to center. That's going to be settled by Evan Bouchard. Right side, Corey Perry. Sends one trickling toward the Florida net. Nico Mikkola for the Panthers. Put it up the right-hand side, and Matthew Tkachuk will snap it in deep. That's going to be knocked down by Stuart Skinner. Fired up the boards, but Seth Jones cuts it off at center, and then a weird hop off the stanchion, glanced off the back of the net. Skinner left it for Ekholm, turned over, and here's Evan Rodriguez for Florida with 90 seconds to play in regulation. We're tied at 3. Panthers pressing for the go-ahead goal. Rodriguez, it's basically a sudden death situation right now. Ekholm to Draisaitl, and the Oilers on the counter. Here's McDavid, tried to put it behind Seth Jones, couldn't get it done. Here come the Panthers. It's Reinhart up through center. Slowly advances to the blue line, and that's all. He'll dump it in. Wallman over to Klingberg for the final minute of regulation. Edmonton has come back from 2 goals down to tie game 1 of the Stanley Cup final at 3. Bobrovsky off a dump in. Steers it over to Forsling. Brad Marchand did not get his stick on the puck. This is an icing call against the Panthers with 50 seconds to go. And Edmonton will go for it right here. Game tied at 3.
Yep.
Panthers with just 3 shots the entire third period. And again, this was a team that coming in had won 30 in a row when leading after 2. The Oilers have battled back to tie, and now they'll look to win it. Brown out there with McDavid and Draisaitl. Draisaitl will take the draw against Lundell and win it. Wallman calling for the puck. Oh, a broken stick. Marchand has no stick. A shot, Bouchard deflected. And Bobrovsky elected to keep the play moving. He didn't freeze it. Here's Brown. Right corner to Connor McDavid. Put it behind the net for Draisaitl. Maybe Bobrovsky didn't know Marchand had no stick. Here's McDavid out in front. No shot. One-timer Bouchard, and that stayed out. Came off the plexi. Marchand now with a stick will shovel it up the right-hand side. This will be an icing call again against the Panthers with 18 seconds to go Marchand is claiming that puck hit the netting before he iced it. And the referees are going to talk about it at center. And I think they're going to now they're going to want to talk to the linesman and try to confer to determine whether or not that puck, in fact, touched the mesh. Very tough to tell. We haven't seen a replay with conclusive evidence one way or the other. And this is a long conference. And, of course, with only 18 seconds to go.
Looks like we're going to have a D-zone draw here in Florida.
Yeah, Marchand's furious. But they're going to allow Florida to change, though. Now, that's odd. Is that hedging your bets? Oh. Now they're going to talk with a timekeeper and see if any extra time rolled off the clock on the icing. But I don't understand. If it's icing, you wouldn't allow Florida to change, which they did. Yeah. And they're going to review it.
Well, wouldn't you think the faceoff has to come outside the line if they're able to complete a change here?
Well, if you're allowing Florida to change, then yes, the faceoff should come outside. Or at center, if you're not sure. Yeah. But instead, they're going to get a look at it and check with the timekeeper. They're putting 7 seconds back on the clock.
Really?
So what they're saying is the icing comes off the board. The puck did go out of play into the mesh, but because it was in the Florida zone, you'd allow them to substitute freely.
100% right, Jeff.
Draisaitl and McDavid off the face-off, and it's a tie-up. Squirts free. Evan Rodriguez turns, and a soft flip through the neutral zone is eventually touched by Ekholm, and then Rodriguez brushed it out of play into the Florida bench with 14.5 seconds separating us from the end of regulation and a Stanley Cup overtime situation. Panthers have played just one overtime game and won it. The Oilers are a perfect 3-0. Draisaitl with 2 game winners and Kapanen the series-ending goal against Vegas. Neutral zone face-off. Draisaitl set to take it against Alexander Barkov, who won it for Florida. Seth Jones tried to nudge it up the right-hand side, couldn't get that done. Barkov on his backhand, got it back through the neutral zone. Draisaitl tried to charge his way in around Seth Jones. Barkov trying to contain. McDavid a shot, and that was wired wide as the horn goes, and we'll have to settle this one in extra time. 3-3 at the end of regulation. The Oilers at one point trailed by 2 goals, but they outshoot Florida, and they outshoot them decisively in the third period by a count of 14-3, and in doing so, tie it up 6.5 minutes in. Mattias Ekholm with assists from McDavid and Kapanen. 3-3. We head to overtime. I just told you, neither club has lost a Stanley Cup playoff game in overtime, and this one especially. McDavid, Draisaitl, and Brown out, and an offensive zone draw for Florida, but it's won by Draisaitl, launched up the right-hand side by Bouchard. Grabbed by Nico Mikkola, did not get it out. Seth Jones won a battle and forced it up ice to Luostarinen. Third line on for Florida. Shot Lundell, kick save, Skinner, rebound, and a save Skinner on the far side against Luostarinen. Here's Marchand, a shot, and that slithered just wide. A good look. Lundell unable to ram it home. Another shot by Jones, and Florida all of a sudden in overtime here in the opening minute with several good chances against the Oilers. Lundell tried to center, came off the back of the net, and finally Connor McDavid in puck possession to Leon Draisaitl, defended by Forsling on the line, squirted free for Connor Brown. He'll swing it around the boards. McDavid wants a change. Protecting the puck is Carter Verhaeghe, and now a reset for Aaron Ekblad, but a shaky opening first minute of the overtime for Edmonton. We remain tied at 3 as Florida 4 quick shots on net. Lead pass, but Colson anticipated, picked it off. Forced ahead by Ekblad to Verhaeghe, and he'll send it around the boards for Matthew Tkachuk. Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final, tied at 3. We're in overtime. Game 2 Friday night. Wrist shot from the point, deflected just wide of Stuart Skinner. Another near miss for Florida. Dmitry Kulikov down low for Carter Verhaeghe. He'll shoot, redirected, and a save. Skinner. Rebound Klingberg. Skinner's best work have come in overtime here. Kulikov tried to pound it in deep, and the Panthers unsuccessful. And now a break for the Oilers. Here's Podkolzin racing for the net with a backhander. He flicked it wide. Rebound Janmark couldn't get there, and here come the Panthers now. Jesper Boqvist. He'll chip and charge into the offensive zone for Florida. Taken away by Kulak. Nurse guides one up to Adam Henrique. Came off the boards. Nosek able to cut it off at the line, and Edmonton has to tag back onside. Seth Jones, a dart up the left-hand side for Jesper Boqvist. Heading for the net. Tried a shot, and Kulak just smothered him. Brown to Henrique. Came back into the zone briefly, and now it's Nico Mikkola. Didn't get clean contact on that puck. He'll be given a second chance. 2.5 gone by in the overtime session. Here's Seth Jones from distance. That was tipped up over top. Reinhart to Barkov. His shot deflected out of play with 17 minutes left in the first overtime. And the Oilers nary a shot on net while Florida's had 5. The ebb and flow of this game, unreal. Edmonton outshot Florida 14-7 in the first. Panthers doubled up the Oilers in the second, 16-8. And then in the third, it was Edmonton 14 and Florida just 3 shots on net, with the Oilers getting the equalizer by Ekholm to tie it.
Brown on the ice for a D-zone draw with McDavid and Draisaitl. Got to get there.
Off the face-off. Panthers with a puck. Reinhart gave it right back to Leon Draisaitl, who put it up on the glass. It came back to Bouchard on a ricochet, and he fires it one up the seam for McDavid. Shot in deep off the end boards. Reinhart didn't get it out, and the Oilers keep it alive off the plexi. It's McDavid trying to cut inside. Double deflection, save Bobrovsky. And the rebound, McDavid. Out to Evan Bouchard, looking for a lane. A shot, and that wobbled just wide. A rebound taken by Evan Rodriguez. He'll scamper to center and fire it in deep. Bouchard first on the puck for the Edmonton Oilers. He'll send it across to Matthias Ekholm. McDavid wants a change. Ekholm will allow the change to take place. The Oilers do not... Well, they have 1 shot in overtime, but Florida has 5. Kasperi Kapanen flips it in. Bobrovsky gives it a look. Seth Jones run into, lost the handle. Kane finished his check, but Lundell able to flip it up through center. Marchand couldn't get there. Here comes Kasperi Kapanen. Remember his overtime goal against Vegas. Here's Kane off a turnover. Bobrovsky, a one-timer, and a block shot, selling out to get his body in front of that one was Luostarinen against Jake Wallman. 4 minutes into OT. We remain knotted at 3.
What a courageous block from Luostarinen. But the Oilers, Jack, you could assert that they have been lucky to survive the first 4 minutes of this OT period. A couple helter-skelterish moments, and Florida creates some looks and chances.
Vander Kane, a smart play from a sharp angle. It's never a bad play to throw a little shot at the goaltender's feet. And Bobrovsky issued a juicy rebound, and as you pointed out, Luostarinen with a shot off his right kneecap, and Wallman can really fire it. Off the draw, Matthew Tkachuk trying to jam it in deep. Wallman takes over for Edmonton. He'll fling it up the boards, but Colson to the middle of the ice. Janmark gave it away. Panthers, big hit on Verhaeghe. Wallman flattened him. But Colson rifles a pass up the middle looking for Janmark. Well covered by Aaron Ekblad. Up the left-hand side. And that was ruled to have hit the Florida bench. Tkachuk thought he had chipped it in, but he got a piece of a teammate sitting on the bench, and now Ekblad and Podkolzin jawing at one another. 4.5 gone by in OT. We are tied at 3 in game 1. The Oilers are 24-3 when they win game 1 of a best of 7. The problem is McDavid. I mean, they actually have almost as good a winning percentage in the McDavid-Draisaitl era when they lose game 1.
They're 9-12 under Chris Knoblauch in games 1 through 3 and 18-2 in games 4 through 7. This would be a big one tonight if they could find a way to get it.
Especially since Florida's won 30 straight when leading after 2 periods in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Oilers with a chance to end that streak tonight. They were down 3-2 after 2. McDavid against Barkov, a center ice face-off won by the Florida captain. Jones to Mikkola, he'll shoot it in. Around the boards, Reinhart. It's been quiet tonight for Florida. This top line has been negated. Bouchard up the right-hand side. Chipped out of the reach of Leon Draisaitl and settled by Seth Jones. Put it across for Evan Rodriguez. He slipped through one check, and he'll shoot it in left wing. Reinhart in the vicinity, poked it free. Rodriguez a shot, a save made by Stuart Skinner. Ekholm up the left-hand boards and down the ice. This should be icing. Jones skating away from McDavid to draw the whistle. 5 minutes into OT. Florida in O-zone draw.
The long change for Edmonton in the second period and in overtime. And it's played a factor. Some puck maintenance issues for the Oilers. And the Oilers have been swapping Corey Perry for D-zone draws with Connor Brown, but they got no choice. Perry's on the ice right now. Leon's got to get at least a saw for a win here.
Brad Marchand scored the overtime winner for Florida in Game 3 against Toronto. He's on the ice now with Lundell and Luostarinen.
And he just put it on the net, Jack. You recall the double ricochet. Puck went in.
Clean face-off win for the Panthers. Forsling thought about a shot on net, thought better of it, and sent it around the boards to Marchand. Trapped in the right corner by Evan Bouchard. Marchand, like Corey Perry, won very early in his career and has been chasing it ever since. Perry's wait has now reached 18 years, Marchand 14, and we've got a hand pass whistled in the neutral zone. And Ekblad and Perry giving each other full chirping methodology from both of those players. They'll retire to their respective benches. Neutral zone face-off just outside the Florida blue line.
We're not here tonight if not for the second period that the Edmonton Oilers Stuart Skinner had. He bailed the team out.
Well, and that goal that was issued by Bobrovsky kept the crowd engaged, and it was a soft one. And if Florida loses this game, you'll think back to that Arvidsson shot that seemed harmless, but went off the glove of Bobrovsky and tumbled into the back of the net. Off the draw, Nurse and Kulak will trade the puck in the neutral zone. Building speed, Connor Brown as Henrique sends it in deep. Bobrovsky spooned it away from Brown. On to Gadjevich and a clear for the Florida fourth line. Nosek in deep. Kulak pressured by Boqvist. Put it up the boards. And there's Kulikov. To the middle of the ice. Boqvist. He'll fire it in. Around the glass, Nosek puts it behind the Edmonton goal line. Nurse will leave it for Trent Frederick. Florida will change.
Well, give it to a D-man here, Trent.
He does. Darnell Nurse whistles one up the left-hand side, and Kulak will scoop it in. Bobrovsky to handle the puck for Florida. Seth Jones on to Sam Bennett. Bennett up to Tkachuk, in from the right-hand side. Here's Skinner up the boards, and that got through Jones. Race for the puck. Mikkola with icing waved off. Kane bearing down on Mikkola. Dropped it off. Kane finished his check, much to the delight of the crowd. Matthew Tkachuk. Blind pass up the middle. Stolen by John Klingberg. For Edmonton, it's Woolman up the left-hand side and slapped in by Kane. Around the boards. Chipped up. Left-hand side, Sam Bennett. Ducked around a big hit. Woolman went in Cronwall style and missed. Klingberg takes over as Florida dumped it in, but a long change. Here's Kapanen looking to take advantage. He's in. Wrist shot save, Bobrovsky. Wow. And it glanced off the side of the net.
Now, take a gift present. Take a personal gift. Open this notification to activate.
Icing Florida with 12:51 to go in OT.
That's why he was the 22nd overall pick, Jack, in 2014. Explosiveness like that.
He can't believe it. Thought he had it. Blazing speed down the middle. Beat Jones and Mikkola and put one off the outside of the right post. I think Bobrovsky might have gotten a slight piece of that puck. Off the draw. Rolled wide of the net. Draisaitl, Perry, and McDavid out there as the Panthers toss it up the left-hand side. Mikkola will change. Here's a long feed from Bouchard. Broken up. Ekholm is on it. McDavid sets a screen. Cherry went down the lines with one-timer Ekholm, and that was redirected wide. Draisaitl, left corner, put it around the boards. Evan Bouchard walking the line. Ekholm calling for the puck. Shoots, and a blocker save. Juicy rebound in the slot, and Florida will ice it. They had to. 12:14 to go in OT. Edmonton's top line remains on. Bobrovsky did not handle that puck from Ekholm well at all, and it trickled right into the slot. Florida with a panicky clear.
Puck hit the referee on the zone entry, and it created a second chance opportunity for Edmonton. It was going to be a hard rim. Went right to the Oilers. Fortuitous kick.
Draisaitl in for the face-off. Beaten off the draw this time. Put up the boards. Bouchard did well to hold the zone. Jones, a high floater over the head of Leon Draisaitl. Ekholm, cross-seamer, and sent in deep by Corey Perry. Ekblad under duress in the form of Connor McDavid. Thundering check applied by Draisaitl. They'll wave off icing here as the Panthers muscle it down the left-hand side. Line changes wholesale coming for both clubs. Nearly halfway through this first overtime period, tied at 3. Edmonton, Florida, game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final. Here's Janmark in from the right-hand side. He waits. He rolls toward the net, only to have it stripped from behind by Luostarina. He left the puck behind, followed up on by Mikkola, who shoots it behind the Edmonton net. Skinner will take his time and send one over to Arvidsson, who's checked immediately by Lundell. Arvidsson able to carve it off the half wall. Good play to Kulak, but Colson flattened. They're going to wave off icing. Here's Janmark sneaking inside of Forsling. The two Swedes come together in the corner. The Panthers can't clear. Klingberg across to Wallman, a shot tipped into the slot. Kulikov, no stick for Lundell. Wallman dropped to one knee. Enrique, backhander in front. Oh, what a save by Bobrovsky. Klingberg, it's loose. Marchand flings it down the ice, and the Panthers stay alive. What a save! That looked to be certain sudden death. Frederick can't believe it. What a save, Sergei Bobrovsky.
And what a play by Adam Henrique.
So now, offensive zone draw. Nugent Hopkins will take it. Lundell, a tie-up situation. Nugent Hopkins out to Wallman. Across Klingberg. Wallman, left point. High slot, Nugent Hopkins a shot. That does not make its way through. Nugent Hopkins looking to follow it up. At 9 points in the first 4 games of the West Final. Been relatively quiet thus far. Marchand cross ice. Luostarina waving at it. Big hit on Klingberg right in front of the Oiler bench. Kane comes over to try to power it back into the offensive zone. Nugent Hopkins comes away with it and drops it for Kasperi Kapanen, and Wallman will reset. Klingberg to Kapanen. One touch of Vander Kane, left wing. Kapanen nearly won the game moments ago. Now he circles and shovels it down low. Kulikov looking to bust up the cycle. Off the left-hand plexi. A quick shot taken by Vander Kane wide. Rebound Ekholm. He'll put it off the glass one more time. Verhaeghe does not get it out. Cross ice. Ekholm's open. Slap shot save made by Bobrovsky. Overtime continues, tied at 3. It's Perry to McDavid. Oilers can feel it. McDavid drop pass to Leon Draisaitl. One-timer up top and a save. Bobrovsky, who did well to freeze it. That's a smart play by Bobrovsky to allow his team to take a collective breath. Early on in OT, it was all Florida. And like the rest of the game, it's been an ebb and flow. The last 5 or 6 minutes have belonged to Edmonton, but the game right now belongs to neither team. It's 3-3 in OT, and game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final continues in just a moment. The Oilers Radio Network.
Blue collar work deserves big dollar perks. Get a heavy wallet with Heavy Metal Equipment and Rentals. Heavy Metal Equipment and Rentals is hiring heavy equipment technicians, maintenance supervisors, PM servicemen, maintenance coordinators, and pretty much every other position that makes Alberta go. We help move the earth that makes Alberta grow. So why not work for a company that makes your bank account grow too? Visit heavymetalequipment.ca to find your new career. Heavy Metal Equipment and Rentals, helping you move the earth.
All games, all season. You're listening to the Oilers Radio Network.
3-3. George Laraque, who was part of some overtime classics in the 2006 run to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final in the building, and as always drawing a huge cheer from Rogers Place. And Bob Stauffer to my right, collecting yet another. What does that put in your pocket every time George gets a standing ovation, Bob?
I don't know.
You get some royalties.
Do I? I got no idea what you're talking about. He's just at Edmonton this morning, I thought. That's it.
I think you've helped make him a sporting icon at Edmonton. Love George. Had a chance to talk with him before Game 4 of the Dallas series. Here in Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final, Florida spotted Edmonton a 1-goal lead early, then took a 3-1 advantage early in the second period. Oilers battled back to force OT. Ekholm with the equalizer with 13 minutes left in the third. And now we're halfway through overtime, still tied up at 3. Shots are 41-29 Edmonton. And officially 5-3, 6-3 rather, in the overtime session. Here's Bouchard, a blast off the draw, one by McDavid. That sailed wide of Bobrovsky. The rebound behind the net. Barkov protecting and dishing off to Seth Jones. And here come the Florida Panthers left to right. They'll shoot it in. Reinhart in from the right-hand side, and the puck comes free. And Jones on the puck for Florida. Left-hand side, Mikkola. Here come the champions. Florida rolls into the offensive zone. Ekholm resetting. Oilers beaten in 7 last year by Florida, coming within a whisker, but ultimately losing Game 7 2-1. Lead pass Ekholm, spilled in by Bouchard. Bobrovsky with Arvidsson on him, sent it off the left-hand side. Rodriguez on a deflection, gains center and backhands it in. Brett Kulak back on the puck for the Oilers. Up to Darnell Nurse, and now Arvidsson. Checked by Forsling. Ekblad comes up with a puck for the Panthers. Tries the right-hand side. This will be icing against Florida. Whistle goes with 8:32 to go in overtime. And here comes Nugent-Hopkins, Kane, and Kapanen to try to win it. An ozone draw coming to the right of Bobrovsky.
Great hit by Picols. Steps up and finishes. Ekblad forces the icing.
Nugent-Hopkins digs in against Anton Lundell. 8.5 to go in OT. Nugent-Hopkins won the draw. Kane to Nurse. Slap pass off the boards. Came out in front to Kapanen. Gives it up. Nurse a one-timer, and that was blocked. Luostarinen with a chance to clear, but Kane won't let him go anywhere. Swarmed under. Big hit Kapanen. Freed it up. Left side for Nurse. Kasperi Kapanen playing perhaps the best hockey of his career. Ekblad with a jittery turnover. Kulak a shot and a save made by Bobrovsky on a twisting floater that he caught up near the collarbone. 8:07 to go in OT. How about Kane and Kapanen on that shift?
Yeah, those guys have been really good. They look like second liners in this game. I mean, Kapanen is just flying. He's got 2 assists. He walked their D and hit the side of a post on an offensive surge. 4 hits in this game.
I think Nugent-Hopkins got a tip on that shot from Kulak, and Bobrovsky was able to reel it in for his 40th save of the night. 8 minutes to go in OT. Here's Adam Henrique winning the draw. Klingberg to Woolman. Left point shot. Stayed out. Rebound. Eluded Connor Brown. Verhaeghe an opportunity to clear. Got a friendly deflection off of Adam Henrique. And Matthew Tkachuk will shoot it in. Panthers have not had much going since the first shift of overtime. Outside that, Bob, they really haven't done much since the second period. Panthers are offside coming over the line left to right.
So they are hard rimming the pucks on zone entries and then getting the wraparound and getting support on the far side of the ice, going to where the puck's going to end up. D-zone draw, Brown out with McDavid and Draisaitl.
Digging in, Sam Bennett against Draisaitl, won the face-off. Tkachuk feeds the point, then sent right back down low by Kulikov. Here's Verhaeghe, gave it away. Pumped up the left-hand side by Draisaitl. Race for the puck. They're going to wave off icing. Nate Schmidt digging in is Connor Brown. Kulikov swung it free for Sam Bennett, and here come the Panthers. Bennett staggers his way in. Beautiful move around Draisaitl. Backhander deflected up and out of play. Well read that time by Evan Bouchard, who stayed with him. Sam Bennett.
He's been their best player.
Well, and again, on a team with Matthew Tkachuk, Alexander Barkov, Ekblad, and Forsling, a top pair. It's amazing. Each Stanley Cup playoff year, all of a sudden, Bennett is at front and center. Leads the entire playoffs with 12 goals. I mean, no one else is in double digits.
Fourth line here for Florida against the Oilers' third line. D-zone draw, Henrique at 53%.
Nosek against Adam Henrique. Jones and Mikkola, the D pairing for Florida. And it's tied up off the draw. Still lingering in the circle. Jonah Gadjevich down low. A puck trickles off of Boakvist's stick, and now it's Ekholm. Hard rim up the left-hand side. Jab free to Nosek, and Florida is able to tap it back in. Cleared back in by Nosek. He'll walk in, a backhander right circle, and a tricky save made by Stuart Skinner. The first one he's needed to make since the opening minute of this overtime. Florida had gone 12 minutes, Bob, without a shot on net. Shots are 43-30 for the game in favor of the Oilers, and in overtime, it's now 7-4 in favor of the host Edmonton Oilers, who will welcome Florida back inside this building for Game 2 on Friday night. And with each passing minute of overtime, we draw closer to that Game 2. 6:20 Mountain Time Friday right here on the Oilers Radio Network before the series shifts to Florida for Games 3 and 4 next Monday and Thursday. Draisaitl won the face-off against Sam Reinhart. Lifted down the ice by Kulak. A hard check on Connor Brown by Forsling. Up to Rodriguez at center. Smacked out of midair by Nurse. Barkov is on the puck for the Florida Panthers. Rodriguez kept it alive briefly. Barkov hasn't done much offensively tonight, though he did save a goal in the third period. Frederick was wide open on a rebound. Flipped in by Ekblad. Put too much on it. They waved it off. Here's Barkov. Won a battle behind the Edmonton net. Tries to roll up top. Can't do it. Rodriguez is there with support. Sends it out for Seth Jones. Across to Ekblad. Slap pass off the boards, and a wise Stuart Skinner read what Ekblad was trying to do and plucked it off the Dashers to freeze the action with 6:20 left in this first overtime period, and the game still tied at 3.
Florida really knows how to win board battles, create net presences, net front. Nugent Hopkins back out with Kapanen and Kane here.
And yet, since the second period, Bob, they've been outshot 21-7.
Yep.
Lundell on the face-off against Nugent Hopkins. And Nugent Hopkins is going to be chased out, replaced by Evander Kane.
Oilers got to support Kane here off this D-zone draw.
Jones and Mikkola, the pairing for Florida, face off to the left of Stuart Skinner. Trent Norris set to drop the puck. And a tie-up off the draw. Kane does his job, swats it into the corner, then puts it up the boards for a clear from Nugent Hopkins. Mikkola races over, backhands it back into the Edmonton zone. Wallman resetting for the Oilers. 6 minutes to play in OT. Wallman will get it back from John Klingberg up the left-hand side. Seth Jones, his stick exploded on him. Shoveled in by Marchand. Jones needs new lumber. In the meantime, the puck is cleared out the right-hand side, and that's going to be an icing call against Florida. And I think it's a good call because there was nothing Jones could do. He didn't have a stick, Bob. So even though if he has a stick, yes, he could have played the puck, but he doesn't, so it turns into an icing.
Again, Florida's at 57% circle. You worry about losing a D-zone draw in overtime and them getting a shot. Got to get a saw off here if you're Nugent Hopkins, and then some support from some wingers.
Much like Kane just did moments ago. Nugent Hopkins now entrusted with that responsibility against Sam Bennett. And he does. Wallman shovels it off glass and out, but that'll be another icing call against Edmonton with 5:41 to play and a suddenly stop and start OT session.
Well, this is a tempo Florida wants to play.
You think they like the whistles?
Well, and they can ground and pound you.
Here's Bennett. Tkachuk lines up in the slot opposite Kapanen. Bennett won the faceoff. Tkachuk, a shot, and that was blocked by Wallman. Kapanen pursues the rebound, had it, and eventually clears out the right-hand side.
Thought that hit the bench, I guess not.
Ekblad, lead pass, Sam Bennett. Left to right, the Panthers will charge in. Here's Bennett to the net. Wrist shot, pushed it wide. Catches his own rebound coming off the Dashers. He'll then work it along the boards to Matthew Tkachuk. Waits. Curls it free. Sent around Ekblad. Put it down low. Verhaeghe. Tkachuk open for a moment. Back to Verhaeghe. And he was stripped. Good play by Vasily Podkolzin, who's had a strong game one here in this Stanley Cup final. In overtime, Matthew Tkachuk able to hold the line. Bennett did not handle his pass very well, however. Kapanen was popped by Gadjevich, but was able to recover. And Podkolzin backhands it safely down the ice.
Yep.
And they do.
Didn't get enough of one for me.
Here's Kulikov gaining the line is Nate Schmidt offside. Gadjevich, mistake made there by the Panthers with 4:34 to go in the overtime session. Gadjevich stepped in when he didn't need to. And that'll cost the Panthers an opportunity to go to work in the offensive zone. And will also bring about a swap of D pairings as Mikkola and Jones come back on for Florida. Now Paul Maurice is going to change up the lineup in its entirety. And after further deliberation, Chris Knobloch sends Adam Henrique over the boards, joined by Frederick and Brown. Face-off, won by Barkov. Wristed down deep, Mikkola. Around the boards, it's Sam Reinhart. Over the last 2 years, Reinhart 96 goals for Florida in the regular season. Been quiet tonight and held relatively check all playoffs long. Just 4 goals for Reinhart, who scored the game winner last year in Game 7. Barkov, a rare turnover at the Edmonton line. Brown and Henrique got it in front of the Oiler bench, and that's where the play dies. Puck pinned along the Dashers, finally chiseled free. Nate Schmidt under pressure from Brown, trying to race away. Angles a pass to Reinhart back toward the middle, and Barkov will shoot it in. Line change Florida. 3:45 left in overtime. Here's Kulak up through center. Slug back in on net. Skinner stops Seth Jones and leaves it on the table for Brett Kulak. Tracked by Lundell. Kulak slowing the pace here. Draisaitl and McDavid on the ice for Edmonton. Lead pass Lundell. Bumped away from Perry by Brad Marchand. He'll shoot it in. From the blue line, a save made by Skinner. Rebound Perry. Curls it ahead for Draisaitl. Backhands it up through center. Luo Sturinen back to Seth Jones, who gathers and angles a pass for Marchand. He gave it away to Ekholm. And now Corey Perry driving in left-hand side. He'll shovel it behind the net. Leon Draisaitl under pressure from Mikkola. And Florida's going to ice this puck. And that means Edmonton's top line will get another look here with 2:56 to go in OT.
I wonder whether or not, because they're winning so many draws here, Jack, if they're not worried about ice and pucks, getting it out.
I don't know. That would seem to be a curious strategy. Nugent Hopkins will take this face-off with Kane and Kapanen. Nugent Hopkins won the draw, and we're going to do it again. Boy, we've had a lot of restarts here in the face-off circle throughout on both sides.
Yes.
Nugent Hopkins, once again, lined up against Anton Lundell following the icing call. And here's a dish. Slammed down low by Ekholm, came off the boards. It's Luo Sturinen. Lead pass, Marchand will try to skate into it. He does. From the right circle, threw one toward the net. Steered behind by Skinner to Ekholm, and now Nugent Hopkins. He'll launch one into open space. That's an obvious icing call. I'm not sure what Nugent Hopkins saw there on the breakout, but it was not completed. And it's Florida who will get an offensive zone faceoff.
I think he thought Kapanen was going to cut to the middle. And Kapanen ran a post or a flag instead of a post.
That's one way to put it, and an accurate way to put it. So a miscommunication. And now the Florida Panthers with an offensive zone face-off. 2.5 minutes remaining in the first overtime. We'll play until there's a winner. It's sudden death in Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final. Panthers will send it around the boards. In pursuit, it's Aaron Ekblad. Right point, down low. Bennett couldn't make a play on it. Ekholm ducks around a hit from Matthew Tkachuk. Florida, which led 3-1 in regulation, trying to put it away finally in overtime. Oilers looking to complete the comeback. Nugent Hopkins head to Bouchard. He beats Forsling. He's in. Stopped. Point blank. Bobrovsky stopped him. He dragged it back, and Bobrovsky stopped him on a partial break. Wow. Tkachuk shovels it in. Lead pass. Arvidsson gets it back from Podkolzin. Drag move. Wrist shot stopped by Bobrovsky. Rebound Podkolzin. Put it behind the net. Tomas Nosek there for Florida, and he put it out of play. Delay of game. Tomas Nosek has set Edmonton up with a power play for the final minute 43 of overtime. The Oilers can win it. What a mistake.
But it's the forechecking pressure that creates it.
You start to feel pressure where there was none. Nosek was not in trouble there. But Colson was nearby, but Nosek was not in a vulnerable position. But to your point, Vasily Podkolzin has done that all game long. And he set the Oilers up with a power play to win it. They're 0 for 3 tonight, but sometimes it has nothing to do with how many you get, it's when you get them. The Oilers to win it in overtime on the Atco power play. Draisaitl, McDavid, Nugent Hopkins, Perry, and Bouchard. Minute 43 left in the overtime. Nosek in the box. 2 minutes for delay of game. Here's McDavid. Won the face-off cleanly. Nugent Hopkins on his backhand. Persistent pressure up top. Gives it up for Bouchard in the high slot. Leon Draisaitl. Back to Bouchard. Across to McDavid. Left circle. Nugent Hopkins. McDavid backs off. Waits and dishes off. Bouchard returns to McDavid. Shot! And that was deflected out of play.
Perry just about deflected that hole. Got worked over in front for it.
McDavid, of course, a memorable overtime winner to end the Battle of Alberta playoff series, Game 5 in 2022. Evan Bouchard, an overtime winner in Vancouver last year. And Draisaitl with a pair this season. And Corey Perry, an overtime specialist. As you know, only 2 players in the history of the game have more overtime goals than Corey Perry, who scored 1 against Edmonton, Game 5, 2017. And once again, we'll have to sort out who takes the draw here. Draisaitl sent out, and McDavid will take the face-off against Anton Lundell. Draisaitl in the high slot, Perry stacked in the paint.
Oh, God. Dropped the puck.
1:20 to play in overtime. There will be a 17-second carryover if the Oilers need it. Off the draw. The puck remains on the face-off dot. Ekblad slams it off the glass and back to center where Bouchard catches it and then will take a skate against Luostarinen. Bouchard to McDavid. Oilers entering the final. 56% at home on the power play. Here's Nugent Hopkins taking off the puck. Luostarinen short-handed. He hits Forsling, who snaps it behind the Edmonton net. That's settled by Skinner with 50 seconds to play in the overtime. Oilers looking to win it. Turn back to McDavid. Against Marchand, uses a screen. McDavid dishing off. Nugent Hopkins waits and bumps it back for Bouchard. Nugent Hopkins on the left half boards under pressure. Turns and gives it up. Beautiful pass. McDavid in front. One time and score! Leon Draisaitl! 4-3! Edmonton in overtime!
Florida Panthers in overtime.
Sportsnet. Now, game end. Final score, Panthers 3, Oilers 4 OT.
Hopkins down low to Perry, McDavid to Draisaitl. 4 players touch the puck, and Draisaitl there to finish it. Not much chance for Sergei Bobrovsky, who pushed hard off the right skate, but powerless to deny Draisaitl his second of the game, his 9th of the playoffs, and his 3rd overtime winner. Edmonton 4, Florida 3, the official time 19:29. Let's go ringside with Brendan.
Hey guys, here with Jake Wallman. Jake, just how would you assess the way that your team managed the emotions, the excitement of this first game here on home ice?
Yeah, a lot of emotion. I think we're prepared for that, though. Wherever the game goes, we're prepared for, and yeah, I think we deserve that one.
Thought on the job your team did, particularly on the back end, transitioning the puck up the ice and sort of mitigating Florida's forecheck.
Yeah, we know it's coming. Still going to be tough every night. This is just one, but yeah, it's something to look out for. Hopefully we can counterattack it. Any adjustments as you come off the ice here you think you want to apply to game 2? Get some rest. Fair enough, Jake. Congrats on the win. Thank you. Guys.
Well, a magnificent game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final.
Fantastic hockey game.
And the Florida Panthers, for the first time in 31 games, lose a game in the Stanley Cup playoffs when they lead after 2. A thrilling finish, to be sure. Ekholm tied it early in the 3rd period, and Draisaitl, his 3rd overtime winner of the postseason. Perry and McDavid with the helpers. Leon Draisaitl had not scored in overtime in the playoffs prior to this season. Well, he's got 3, and Edmonton is now 3 wins away from its first Stanley Cup since 1990.
Well, as you know, going back to 2017, of all of the people to score, he didn't score a lot for the Oilers in the playoffs, Jack, but it was Leon Draisaitl setting up David Desharnais for the game winner against San Jose in Game 5 when the Oilers rallied on the Oscar Klefbom game-tying goal. And then in 2022, when the Oilers vanquished the Calgary Flames in Game 5, it was Leon Draisaitl feeding Connor McDavid and putting a dagger in the hearts of all the Flames fans in southern Alberta.
Hey, I didn't mean to suggest he'd done nothing in the postseason. I'm just saying he hadn't scored an overtime winner.
How about the play by Corey Perry, though? That was, I mean,
he had a tough night. This game did not start off well, but Corey Perry
is a pro.
The one thing about a 20-year career, you're not going to worry about a tough first period in Game 1.
All 5 guys touched the puck in the game-winning goal in overtime. And, you know, a 4th-line center in Noshik flips the puck out of over the glass, partially because of an effective, very effective sequence with Vasily Podkolzin. And I thought Vasily Podkolzin and Kasperi Kapanen were huge tonight for the Edmonton Oilers. Obviously, Arvidsson got a goal as well. But I think the thing you got to love if you're an Oilers partisan, the Oilers were down 3-1, but the quick response goal, and it was a bad one, by Victor Arvidsson against Sergei Bobrovsky.
I thought it was the turning point of the hockey game.
So do I. And from that point on, I mean, the Oilers, Stuart Skinner bailed them out in the second period, but the Oilers...
he was good in the first shift of the third, or the overtime.
But the Oilers outshot them 24-9 in the third period in overtime. It's a little like the game against LA. Game 4 against LA here.
Except, I mean, Florida, I'll tell you what, if the Oilers are down a goal with 20 seconds to go, you're not going to see Florida try to make the kind of play that Quentin Byfield made.
But it is, you know, you won Game 1. What's that record again when the Oilers win Game 1?
24-3. It's pretty impressive.
And they're a team that seems to get better as series goes on. Now they are playing a team that is a championship caliber team with a championship chin. This was the first punch. You know, everybody's, what's the old Mike Tyson line?
Everyone's got a plan until you get punched in the mouth.
Well, the Oilers got punched in a quick sequence after they built up the 1-0. Debatable goal, disputed goal. They didn't get the favorable ruling. It didn't get pulled off the board. They ended up getting a penalty. And you know what? If you're Paul Maurice, you're saying, how did the Oilers get 4 power plays and we got 2 in this game? But they handed Edmonton a couple of them. Doesn't matter. I know this. Edmonton's going to be needed to be better on Friday because Florida's going to be better on Friday. They are. They're a real, this is a team. This is nothing for the Panthers. They've been right there all the time. The Leafs had them down 3-1, 2-0 in the series, and 3-1 in the middle of the second period. It appeared to be dead in the water in Sunrise, and Florida swung back and landed several big bombs. There's a lot of work left still done in this series.
And yet Edmonton lands the first roundhouse, and that was key coming into this series because we all remember what happened last year when Edmonton dropped the first 3, fought back into a Game 7, and then Game 7 in Sunrise was kind of a low-event, low-energy type of game where the Oilers ultimately didn't muster a ton, and yet in this first game, they had every reason to go away with Florida up 3-1 early in the second period. Bobrovsky, tell you what, Bobrovsky, like Jim Hiller, gave Edmonton a little life, and he paid for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can't give this Oiler club life.
They don't get there without a terrific second period from Stuart Skinner.
Absolutely, and Skinner finishes his night with 29 saves on 32 shots. Bobrovsky, despite 42 saves, will end up on the short end of the 4-3 final. The Oilers score 66 seconds into the game. Leon Draisaitl opened the scoring, and he closes the show as well. With 31 seconds left in overtime, Draisaitl buries a power play goal, and Edmonton wins Game 1 of this best-of-7 Stanley Cup final by a count of 4-3. Draisaitl finishes the night with 2 goals, of course. Connor McDavid, 2 assists, and in between, Ekholm and Arvidsson with vital goals to offset a pair from Sam Bennett. And as Bob indicated, the Florida Panthers, except for that first shift of overtime, largely a dormant offense over the final 40 minutes. They didn't do enough, and the Oilers are able to crawl their way back and win for the 7th time in the playoffs in come-from-behind fashion, and this is the 4th time, Bob, that the Oilers have scratched out a victory when trailing after 2 periods.
Yeah.
Your final score, Edmonton 4, Florida 3. A word on Game 2. Do you expect any substitutions either way?
Possibly A.J. Greer.
If he's ready to go.
He
got banged up in the Carolina series.
I thought Boquist was okay tonight. Gave him some speed on the wing on that 4th line, but they have a heavier presence. Thought Edmonton